people of the internet? It is I, Andres Perez, aka Kaj Noir, back with another podcast-style review of a new thing that happened to have come out recently. And so I brought together the gang from our Record of Ragnarok review that we did a couple months ago. Joining me today, it is Mr. William Kearney, the author of the God's Wrath book series, aka Crookedlore.
I was also once the Watcher, but by law I'm not allowed to do that anymore.
did any of the of those guys put a restraining order on you?
It's not that. It's just, one of them was what if her bra fell off, and yeah, it's a long story. I shouldn't get involved.
I see. You spent too much time focusing on those universes. Well, anyway.
You mean the best universes? The Dead or Alive universe of the 90s Marvel universe?
From a certain point of view. And joining me as well as the third of the part of this trio, it is sprite artist extraordinaire, author of the upcoming Abyss book series. It is none other than Mr. Random.
Ponder the question, what if I were to purchase fast food and disguise it as my own cooking? Delightfully devilish, Watu.
Of course, I feel like as soon as what if came out in this day and age, that was like the perfect joke for that setup.
So that's been memed nonstop, and it has become my favorite meme for what if.
Oh, absolutely. So yes,
it'd be funny, when Ultron bursts for reality, he just screams at him, "Seymour!"
Tony!
I was just stretching my calves on the multiverse. Isometric exercise. Can you join me?
So if it hasn't been
clear, I digress.
If it hasn't been clear already, we are here to talk about the recent Disney Plus series, Marvel What If? Ellipses, 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 question mark. So,
AKA the best MCU thing in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I would definitely say it's perhaps the most unique and most intriguing of any of the MCU
and the
installments.
darkest.
Oh, definitely true. Yeah. So, What If is, I guess, the first. I'm not sure if there's ever been any previous animated installments or animated tie-ins.
There has not.
There has not. Okay.
Unless
so,
you count the Disney cartoons, they tried making them just like the MCU.
Right.
Well, the closest you get was the season finale of the '90s Spider-Man cartoon that told a loose adaptation of the Clone Saga, and it kind of feels like a what if story.
Oh, that was technically the first Into the Spider-Verse.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess what I mean is as an official installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
There has not been an official MCU animation.
Right. So
which, on the looks of this, should have been done a long time ago because you do so much more with animation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
especially with superheroes.
Yeah.
Does the Marvel anime stuff count, or is that like a separate continuity?
Oh, no,
it's kind of related. Like the Rise of Technovore used a lot of elements from the first Iron Man movie.
There was also that Black Widow Punisher film as well.
Yeah, that was a sequel to that, which was again took a lot of elements from the movies because I guess that kind of works better in the style they went with.
Right. But all these previous animated projects from Marvel, these were always things that were inspired by they were always inspired by the MCU, but they were never directly connected to the MCU. And this is our very first. Yeah.
They did try doing that with the Avengers Assemble cartoon, and then it got ridiculous because they introduced characters that were introduced in the movies later on. In season 1, you get Mordo from Doctor Strange. He's white. And then seasons later, he's now black because he was black in the movies. And they didn't explain how that worked.
And they cancelled Earth's Mightiest Heroes for that.
Oh,
yeah, yes, I am still bearing a grudge. What of it?
The funny thing is, I'm currently watching Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes with my friend Dylan for the next episode of Fully Indoors, and my God, it has aged like fine wine, 11 years later.
Still my favorite animated piece from Marvel. It used to be the '90s Spider-Man cartoon, but this shit is just.
I've been watching the Lionsgate animated movies.
Oh yeah.
Which ones were those?
Hulk versus Ultimate Avengers, Planet Hulk, Doctor Strange.
Oh, and then what was it called? They also made an Iron Man one as well.
Oh yeah, the Iron Man one. That one was okay. That one was a bit more comic accurate, where you had the Mandarin involved and all that.
Mm-hmm. So It is very funny when you look at like how Marvel tends to do their animated projects. They tend to be very hit and miss with audiences. Meanwhile, for the longest time, DC always seemed to be on top of that when it came to Marvel animation. I mean, when it came to, sorry, I meant to their own animated projects, up until recently, where things had been a little hit and miss for a while. I definitely agree with you, Will, that animation is certainly the way to go if you want to do something that isn't a big budget, $200 million movie, because
especially for superheroes, because superheroes tend to work a lot better when it comes to animation.
Right.
And it's DC Comics seems to really excel with animated projects. In fact, you could probably take that scene from the first Avengers film with Loki as Marvel going, "I have a box office," and DC going, "We have everything else."
True. So when it came to the MCU, there's always when you're making something in live action and you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these large projects, these studios are always aiming towards like the widest demographic imaginable in order to make a return on their investment. Yet with something like What If, it seems like they definitely want to go as out there as they possibly could within while using the MCU as a sort of playground to bounce around all these ideas and play around with concepts that they could never normally do in a live action big budget films project.
Yeah. What If so far feels like it was written by actual comic book fans, because like when you hear directors from Marvel movies, they say they aren't really comic book fans or anything like that. Yeah. This feels like people that enjoy comics, that they want this to feel like a comic book.
I can see that to an extent.
And it kind of pulls more from like
established... they have to use MCU stuff.
And it feels like they pull more from like the established comic book lore. I mean, for example, episodes 8 and 9 feel like a more comic accurate version of Age of Ultron than the film ever was.
It does, yes.
And that is true, yeah. I do feel like whenever the subject of like adapting something for a live action movie for a mainstream audience, there's always going to be a level of compromise, whether it's Spider-Man, Batman, The Mask, Men in Black, Sin City, what have you. There's always going to be some level of changes involved to make it to make it appeal to comic fans and non-comic fans alike. Although, given that there are more people out there that, in my opinion, I feel like there's more people out there that don't read American mainstream comics than people who do. That's the people who don't read the comics. I feel that's definitely the target audience for them. But in the case of What If, I guess you can, as someone who has grown up with Marvel mostly through television and movies and video games and whatnot, primarily, I would say this definitely strikes a very nice balance, kind of like a bit like Earth's Mightiest Heroes in a way, where it's able to cater to everyone, seemingly everyone at the same time. Before getting into that, so the entire premise of Marvel What If you don't already know, this is an anthology series that takes a look at alternate versions of the MCU in which a particular element has changed that causes certain events to veer off wildly in a new direction than what is established in the MCU movies. And we have 9 episodes, the last 2 being a 2-part finale that kind of brings everything together. And the host of this series is a fictional character named The Watcher, who is...
He's not real?
Oh.
And no, I did... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that this is a character that was previously teased in the Doctor Strange movie, actually. Not sure if either of you seen Doctor Strange?
I have seen Doctor Strange, but I
think he was teased in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy too. Well, Watchers were, not this particular
one. Right, okay, sorry, I'm with you.
Though that was something I didn't want to bring up. This version of the Watcher is not called Uatu like the one we see in the comics. This one is simply called the Watcher, and he kind of works differently compared to the one in the comics, considering he's more multiversal, while the one in the comics is still kind of just the one that watches the Earth.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
very
because
interesting.
he has like a moon base, like he's Rita Repulsa or something.
Yeah, except
okay.
he doesn't make monsters grow except his head.
Ah. So the Watchers, from what I remember, they had a cameo in the Doctor Strange movie in which they were conversing with Stan Lee for his cameo of that movie.
That was the Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Wait, really? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay, never mind then. So that was a huge screw up on my part.
And we're not going to talk about the biggest thing about the Watcher, or his biggest appearance was when Galactus first appeared.
Yeah, I was about to say that my introduction to the character is when he showed up during the Galactus event in the comics, which they also adapted into
cartoons and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember when I was introduced to the Watcher. It definitely wasn't the comics, but I could have sworn I might have seen him in some animated project.
Probably the Fantastic Four cartoon, since they did adapt the Galactus storyline.
Okay, then.
Or it could have been Ultimate Alliance, the video game.
Possibly. Maybe it was Ultimate Alliance that was first introduced to the Watcher.
Yeah.
That would have been the first game, because I've only ever played the second one.
Okay, then.
Now, I will say this. The Watcher is a great character in this. I love his voice.
Definitely.
I love the presence he gives off.
He definitely comes off a bit like a Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone, where he's there to introduce each episode, kind of give a brief rundown as to what the premise of each story is, and is there at the very end. He sometimes shows up in small cameos throughout the episode, and then eventually comes in to sort of wrap up everything with a closing narration.
Yeah. Now I will want to talk about how he further plays into the story as we go episode by episode.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely do want to go at this episode by episode, but my first question to you two is, did either of you actually ever read any of the Marvel What If comics that this series was inspired by? And I guess to once again explain to the audience, the What If series was the original Marvel What If comics. It was just like this TV show, it was an anthology series where every issue was sort of like a one-shot that explains what if Spider-Man did this instead of that? What if this character, what happened to do that? Or this character became that character?
Yeah. One particular episode is what if Uncle Ben never died and Spider-Man stayed a wrestler?
Mm-hmm. And
that was one of the big ones.
Okay. The only one I ever read was according to the Marvel Wiki, what if Volume 2, Issue 4, what if the alien costume had possessed Spider-Man? And this is like a storyline that depicts a version of the story of the symbiote, the black suits storyline, in which Spider-Man never got rid of the black suit.
Yeah, I
remember that one where it was pretty much his skin at this point.
Kind of like as soon as, like, I guess spoilers for a comic from 1989. This was what ended up happening was Spider-Man, the symbiote continued to feast on Spider-Man's like well-being. So by the time the suit is forced off of him by the Avengers, he's like an old man who's like on death's door.
Is a complete skeleton underneath it?
Oh, that might be a different version of the story that I read then. So the version I read, once he got rid of it, he was an old man who like died a couple days later.
That might be the one when what if Hulk or Thor became Venom? So that might be what I'm referencing.
Yeah. The one that I read, Hulk and Thor both became Venom because like after
I remember that one.
After absorbing all of Spider-Man's essence, the symbiote then wanted to latch on to like the most powerful superhero imaginable, and was eventually and then it was eventually taken out by both the Avengers and Black Cat, who wanted revenge because Spider-Man was going out with her at the time.
Yeah. And there was another one where what if Spider-Man never got rid of the cosmic powers he had?
Mm-hmm.
And in that one, he pretty much caused Venom to stop trying to go after him, actually become a hero, and this led to him fighting against Hobgoblin.
Okay. And
the two issues I've read, and this is kind of like what they could have done instead of the bullshit that was One More Day, was the what if Spider-Man and Mary Jane did not get married saga, because it was a two-part story, with part 2 being what if Spider-Man married the Black Cat, and it's actually a very fucking dark story where Black Cat basically kills people and then Silver Sable kills her for her bullshit.
Oh, wow.
And in the end, it ends up with Peter stricken by grief. He ends up marrying Silver Sable instead, which is an interesting pairing, to say the least.
Okay.
There is another thing I want to bring out. Do you guys remember the PlayStation 1 Spider-Man games?
Yeah. I played that.
That had a what-if mode. Those had what-if modes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember
a lot of
that.
them are just like Easter eggs in the backgrounds, though. Like they open up with the watcher narrating, but then you see things like Ghost Rider driving his motorcycle up top side of a building and all that.
Oh, nice.
Sweet. They need to remake that game.
Yeah. I was like, there's got to be a way for. I wonder if that game has ever been like officially re-released anywhere.
I know there's a weird PC
remastered.
mod. There's like a PC mod I've seen that actually has given Spider-Man more costume options. Like, for example, you can get the Superior Spider-Man or the Miles Morales suit in that game.
Oh, that's
still love it because you get the metal, you guys get the armor Spider-Man suit, the silver one.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's still a favorite of mine that they don't use anymore.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And
but let's get back to the real.
Yeah, and so what was the other what if that you read random?
There is another. Actually, there's several ones I can remember. Is the one I'm particularly fond of, besides the two-parter, was the what if story based on Civil War comic, not the film.
Cool.
Because there's a specific moment in the actual story where, the airport scene from the movie.
Yeah.
That scene was heavily inspired by a scene in the comics where both factions were sort of led into a huge conflict at a power plant.
Mm-hmm.
And it all kicks off with an ill-fated handshake that kind of goes a bit awry, and then the fight begins. But in the what if story, Tony is actually a bit more honest with Steve about his plans and says, it's going to be an honor and a privilege working with you. And rather than put the sort of the EMP device in Tony's hand, Cap actually decides to work with him, and the sort of the superhuman registration that goes ahead, but everyone's in favor of it, and it actually creates a more sort of almost like a Green Lantern society on the planet. So it's kind of an interesting thing because it's weird because it's all structured in a way where Tony is actually grieving at Cap's grave, and Iwatu actually comes to him and say, "Hey, this could have happened if you weren't a massive dick about it." I mean, I'm exaggerating, but that's essentially what it was. Like, he basically shows them a what-if scenario if Tony wasn't so stubborn.
Yeah. Then again, isn't, like, comic book Tony always super stubborn?
Yeah. And Tony And Tony thought
it's hilarious because because people know Tony Stark from the films as this swaggery, narcissistic playboy, but the Tony I'm familiar with is a paranoid alcoholic. Right.
Yeah. And Tony Stark thought to himself, "It took a big-headed baby man to tell me this."
Where did my life go wrong?
Because it's actually one of the more depressing what ifs, because he's not showing this to say, "Hey, look at this." He's like, "This is what you could have done if you weren't a prick."
That's the one thing about what if that I love they brought to the series, is that the what ifs were always darker stories compared to the main ones they're doing.
That seems to be the impression that I get from like anything and from everything that I've heard from you guys about what if. It seems like what if things went horribly, horribly wrong that makes you appreciate how things went in the actual storyline.
Yeah, because like sometimes, I mean, Age of Ultron's a good example because I mean I know Will and I have joked that if they used comic book Ultron, not the Joss Whedon Ultron would have fucking killed everyone like that.
Exactly.
So it's nice to be in the what if story. We actually say, "Oh, good, here's comic book Ultron."
Comic book Age of Ultron.
Oh yeah,
an actual
Age of Ultron, not just like a couple days of Ultron.
Yeah, they actually took elements from the comic Age of Ultron for this one.
Cool.
It's kind of interesting because the helmet he gets actually has like the 6 eyes, which is very reminiscent of how he looked in Age of Ultron.
He only has 4 eyes.
Oh yeah, the multiple eyes on his helmet just like feels more in line with what the comic book should have been like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course this is a bit of a spoiler for when we get there, but for Vision's body, that was also in the Age of Ultron comics.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
So going into this one by one. So episode 1 focuses on, I'm just going to give each one a nickname. So episode 1 is essentially the Captain Carter episode. So it starts off...
Captain Britain.
Or Captain Britain.
Who are you supposed to be? The Queen of England? No, because that would imply she does bugger all. And there goes my knighthood.
So, I feel like this was a very good introductory episode because it's like the most its premise is the most simplistic of all of them. This is essentially, what if Peggy Carter got infused with the serum and became the shield-tossing superhero as opposed to Steve Rogers. And this episode essentially, it gives us an abridged version of Captain America: The First Avenger, just with Captain Carter in the role of the lead role. And I'll just give my thoughts right away as someone who loved Captain America: The First Avenger, and I had loved the retro sort of throwback to 1940s superhero adventure serials, stuff like the Rocket that the Rocketeer was inspired by. I heavily enjoyed this episode, as I feel like it definitely some people might feel a little bored by this episode because it's just sort of beat for beat Captain America: The First Avenger, but I definitely enjoyed seeing this sort of abridged take that also has a new spin on it, just having a female character's perspective on the events of this movie set during a time where things were definitely not very good, not very kind towards women.
Yeah. Now, I was actually James. You want to go first, or can I?
I was going to say, because I know some people will complain about this episode, saying, "Oh, they're making a bunch of sexist comments, SJW or something." But I excuse it and applaud it, because when you consider this episode was not set in the year 2021. It was set in the 1940s, and that kind of thing was rampant. So,
super rampant.
So that's why. Because if anyone complains saying, "They're making it's woke Marvel," no, this is just being historically correct, because women did get the short end of the stick during the 1940s.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If this was an episode set in modern day and they were cracking those jokes, I would complain. And it's kind of nice when they get to the series finale, and mild spoiler, when we get to the sort of brief recap of Winter Soldier, they didn't force that sort of stuff in there. It was just kind of, it just stopped happening. So that was fine. So, I mean, I get it, but I did feel they did drag that bit out a little too much, but it stopped eventually. So,
sorry to interrupt you. I guess for me, I think that was their attempt to try to help differentiate Peggy Carter's story from Steve Rogers' story. Because when it comes to Steve Rogers, his biggest, crutch, figuratively and literally, was the fact that he was sort of very physically weak and frail prior to the serum, and so by the time he was turned into Captain America and started kicking ass, there was really nothing. No one ever questioned. From what I remember of the movie, no one really questioned him. So for Peggy Carter, even after getting the superpowers, she still had to fight that sort of. She still had discrimination. Exactly. Thank you very much. She still had a level of discrimination that Steve Rogers never had, and so I thought that by trying to approach the story by that angle, it helped differentiate her story from Steve's, from mainstream Steve. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, I also like it how, even though that scene when they're having drinks in the bar,
mm-hmm.
and they kind of realize that they both got the short end of the stick, so it wasn't just it's only just a women thing. It's no, it's also
definitely
a male thing. You can sort of tell they have this. They're talking about it, and they have this sort of moment where they kind of stop and they go, "Oh yeah, we really are the same, aren't we?"
Oh yeah. In terms
I kind of like that, at least.
Oh, definitely, yeah. In terms of some people who are I guess, in Steve's case, who were physically disabled, and people who happen to have been born as women, both of them do definitely dealt with various kinds of levels of discrimination, and I thought that was a really nice way to help them bond even further. Since Steve did not, Steve stayed the same in this continuity.
Yeah, so now I'm gonna talk now since I've been trying to get.
Sorry.
No, like I was gonna say.
So, anyways,
about them Mets. I'm joking.
I was trying to say, I was actually concerned with this episode because Marvel, when it comes to female-led things, hasn't been that good. Captain Marvel, all that. But this was a pleasant surprise. Actually, I was worried that they were gonna make Steve a joke or something. No, the reason why he couldn't get the serum made sense. They still had him as a hero when he became the Hydra Stomper. In fact, when they teamed up, him and Peggy were teaming up with each other, they kind of remind me of Stargirl and Stripe from DC Comics.
Right. Yeah. I remember them from Justice League Unlimited. So yeah, that I wouldn't be surprised if they were inspired by that.
Yeah, but and also I do like Peggy's design as Captain Britain, despite the fact they won't call her that because Captain Britain wasn't in the movies.
You can't see it, but I'm patriotically saluting right now. Union Jack tears and everything.
Yeah. Now, one thing that does bother you about What If, and we should have said this earlier, is that each episode is only a half hour long.
Yes, that's the biggest the biggest like flaw in this entire season.
Yeah, because because one of the things explained, like, why did Peggy get a shield? When that was Steve's idea originally. Did he tell her the idea of the shield? What happened there?
A wizard did it. Will.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, just to sort of chime in on that real quick. I mean, that is. I mean, if my overall complaint with the series, just as Will's pointed out, is the time frame. It's the same problem I had with the Netflix Transformers stuff. Like, you cannot tell these stories in 30-minute chunks. I know I keep sucking this show off, but Netflix Castlevania did it right. Hour-long episodes each, and it's like you need these stories. These stories are great, but they need more time just to get all the details out. And you can sort of tell they were sort of going as quickly as they could through the first Avenger recap. Going, okay, here's your shield, here's your costume. Okay, here's the thing, here's the Tesseract, here's the thing. It's just like fucking slow the fuck down here, will you?
And
it's like these stories, these characters could be fantastic, but with some of them, it's just you just get like a minute just to explain everything.
Yeah. Now, another thing I really loved about this episode is that Peggy still loves Steve, despite the fact he didn't become Captain America.
Right, because he was someone who never saw. He always tried to be like the best person he could be. He was like Superman in a way. He treated everybody equally, and it was that sort of like genuine kindness that still shines through in this episode that causes Peggy to fall for him. And I do agree with you, Will, that I do love that Steve isn't just tossed to the sideline. He still plays an important role. Kind of weird that he becomes this universe's Iron Man. But still, pretty damn good.
I still think if they do a sequel, he's going to be Winter Soldier.
That would be interesting to see, especially for them to explain how he survived all this long. Because I forgot how they made Bucky survive.
They froze him.
Oh, they froze him.
They kept him freezing when they
until they needed him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I like the fact that Steve almost got Snoo.
Yeah, that would certainly make things very awkward for them.
Yeah. Also, it's like probably unintentional, but when they did that montage of Captain Carter and the Hydra Stomper beating the shit out of Hydra with that classic swing, did anyone else get any Cuphead vibes from the music?
I mean, most of my thought process was going back towards Rocketeer and First Avengers.
And I was thinking of Stargirl and Stripe, just especially when she was riding on the back of Steve's robot machine.
That music though is just like
I love the music. I absolutely love the music.
I'm a sucker for 1940s film music.
Yeah. I unironically enjoy the fucking Star Spangled Man song.
Yeah. Another thing I want to say is I really like the fact they still kept Peggy very pretty in the face, very feminine.
Oh, super!
I was kind of worried they were going to try to make her more masculine.
Try to turn her into what was the nickname for Carl Manvers?
Yeah.
Because again, the Marvel movies have been really bad at female leads. This was like the best way to do it. This should have been their first female-led movie.
Although I prefer to call her Clown Danvers, but we'll get to her later.
Right. Let's see. One thing I did want to bring up about the Hydra Stomper, I thought it would have been it was a missed opportunity not to call it the Hydra Buster.
I do agree. That should have been that. That should have been.
Pretty sure that's a Mega Man weapon at some point in the series.
And
Hydra Buster.
When you positively, absolutely have to. Damn it! Now I forgot the.
When you absolutely, positively kill every motherfucker in the room.
Thank you.
No substitute.
Yeah. No, I did learn something interesting about the actor for Red Skull in this.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, it's apparently the same. What?
It's not. Wait. Was it Hugo Weaving or was he not?
No.
Nope. Apparently, I found that there were two Red Skull actors in the Marvel movies. The one in Infinity War and Endgame are not the same one from the first Avenger.
Right, because I always got the vibe that like
Hugo Weaving didn't want to come back.
Right. He's not into the comic book shit, even though he technically did a whole lot of geeky, nerdy stuff like Lord of the Rings, Transformers, The Matrix.
Yeah, and also
he did his entire recording of Megatron in an afternoon over Skype.
Kind of explains the phoned-in performance.
Yeah, he also.
I love Hugo Weaving, but it's like, what the shit, man.
Yeah. Also, the actor that played Red Skull in this is also the voice of Ultron in this.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So now that you say that,
I did a great job.
Can hear it.
Yes, he did a great job, in my opinion. I think he did capture the tone of the movie, but still kind of matched a bit more of the comic, how you imagine the comic sounding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
on to the next episode.
Two more things I want to bring up.
One last thing. One last thing I want to say is: did anyone else find the imagery of Peggy with the sword and shield fucking badass?
Oh, absolutely.
I did like that.
I was just staring at it. I was staring at her like she picks this sword up off the and she does that superhero landing with a sword and shit. I was just staring at it, going, "Yeah, why doesn't Captain America have a sword? Like it's just missing something, you know."
He has guns. He's American. Swords are British.
Yeah, right.
America! Fuck yeah!
Guns, Jesus, cheese, and bacon. That's America.
And every country
Fuck yeah!
America! United States.
I guess like the idea was that with Steve being a kid growing up, a kid from Brooklyn, he was a guy who knew how to fight with his fist. Whereas with Peggy Carter, I'm guessing that they wanted her to go for that sort of Europe, I guess, English knight sort of deal with the sword and shield.
Yeah. Legend.
There is one thing that did kind of bother me is that when they thought Steve died in this, Bucky was the one that said that they should leave. I feel like Bucky would be the one that would be searching with Peggy.
That's true. Yeah.
Nah, that felt out of character. That was the only complaint I had. Other than that, it was a great episode. I think this was the most what if story because it feels like what they did for a lot of the what if stories. Like, what if this character was this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other two notes I wanted to say was back to the Hydra Stomper, that it reminded me a lot of the Iron Man Noir comic, and how it reminded me a lot. That was essentially less of a noir story, but it was pretty much Iron Man and I believe War Machine as well, shooting a bunch of Nazis in steampunk armor, and this was I'm pretty sure a lot of noir involves people shooting Nazis. Yeah, that is very true.
Now, I do think what if they do use what they can to try fit in a lot of the stuff from the comics into it.
Possibly, yeah. And the other thing I want to say was that the giant tentacle squid monster, which really cool finale, by the way, and a nice way to differentiate it from the first Avenger movie. Although it did kind of didn't it remind you guys a lot of the climax to the first Hellboy movie?
It kind of did.
A little bit.
And do you think this tentacle monster might have been Shuma Gorath?
I fucking hope so. I love Shuma Gorath.
Maybe, but there was also a thing in the comics that Hydra had this tentacle creature that they genetically engineered, but this one might have been Gorath just because he was from a different universe.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, no, because you've just mentioned Shuma Gorath, all I can think of is when that tentacle squishes Red Skull, all I can hear in my head now is Hyper Combo KO.
Oh, that's another thing. This episode felt more like like Captain America's introduction episode in Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
See, yeah, now that you say that, they in his episode they did have a lot of like Asgardian creatures.
Yeah, in that the Hydra captured a lot of mythical creatures from Asgard.
Damn it, Will, I gotta rewatch that series now. Seriously.
It's fantastic. I don't know how many times I've played this.
It's the third greatest superhero cartoon ever made. When Batman animated series is first, third place ain't so bad.
Oh, definitely. And who's second? What's number 2 for you?
X-Men animated series.
Oh, yes, great choice.
Yeah. And then fourth would probably be Justice League.
Cool. So episode 2, T'Challa's Star-Lord. So, as we mentioned, so just like with the last one where they took a random character, a character and put them in one character and put them in another character's role, here we have T'Challa, who was abducted by aliens, and not Peter Quill, so we end up with T'Challa growing up to become Star-Lord.
Now this, in my opinion, definitely the weakest episode.
I disagree. I really enjoy this one. At first, I was very unsure of where they were going with this story. And I did my biggest issue with this episode was that I feel like they made T'Challa too perfect of a protagonist.
That's the biggest issue.
That said, I once I found out what they were doing, and that is they were essentially pulling off a sci-fi heist story, I started digging it, like, once we got to the halfway point, and I enjoyed it as a one-off heist adventure.
Though there was one thing that really bothered me here. Why was he called Star-Lord? That was what Peter Quill called himself because that's the name his mother gave him.
Because marketing will.
Yeah. And also, this is kind of more random choices to turn a character into. I still like the design of the T'Challa Star-Lord, though. I do like it.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it was the more random. Like, Peggy becoming the new super soldier, that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
This one was kind of, I don't know. I do at least like how he became. At least like the excuse they made why Yondu abducted him.
Yeah. I thought it was I thought it was pretty fun. I mean, yeah, having Black Panther in space is super random. But I thought they made it work for such a random idea. I thought they
still a missed opportunity to have Peter Quill as Black Panther. They've been Hasselhoff forever.
No, Will. No.
I ain't touching that.
No, Will.
I'm like
need
fucking
this in my life.
No, you don't, Will.
I'm like Bruce Banner in the first Avengers film. I'm just here to do my job. I'm not getting involved in this.
I need it.
No, I'm fine with just having Peter Quill as a fast food worker.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be fair, isn't that what Chris Pratt was doing before he got the job in films?
I don't know.
But just think about it. Instead of being stealthy, you start hearing classic music playing. Like,
start challenging everybody to a dance-off.
Clawing at you.
Well, pretty sure he's gonna be dancing King Cooper to a dance-off soon, isn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
Because what could go wrong with that casting?
Or because it's Jack Black doing Bowser. It's like, come on, Bowser, we challenge you to a rock-off.
Yeah. Now, I don't mind how they depicted T'Challa here, having him be more diplomatic when it comes to people like him making the Ravagers more Robin Hood-like team. That kind of works for me, but
definitely.
What really just made me fall out of it was when they said he got Thanos to pretty much stop being Thanos.
That was definitely a stretch.
That's where I kind of agree with you all when you said like they made him a little too perfect. I mean, obviously, just to address the elephant in the room, it was kind of jarring to hear Chadwick Boseman's voice again after his tragic passing. The sad thing is, it is like this is his final piece for the MCU, so it is kind of a bittersweet thing. But I mean, it was great to hear him again. But I do agree with you, Andres, that I think my biggest complaint was, besides the strange premise, because I said to myself, when I read the title, I said to myself, what do those two have in common? Like, if it was what if T'Challa became the Winter Soldier, I could say, well, at least there's some connection to Bucky, but there's like, I'm pretty sure in the entire MCU, T'Challa and Star-Lord have never said one word to each other.
I guess maybe whoever thought of this was just a really big Black Panther fan, and they wanted to send him.
Actually, what I hear is T'Challa, not T'Challa, but Chadwick Boseman was the first actor to sign on to this because he wanted to do more stuff as T'Challa.
Sure.
Which,
I mean,
in hindsight, knowing that he was battling cancer for like the last several years of his life, him wanting to do as many projects as possible, that makes sense.
Yeah, I respect him for his love of this character. Yeah, I didn't care for the Black Panther movie, but I loved him as Black Panther.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Because I mean, if you had to do a weird, like, bizarro Star-Lord idea, to me, it made more sense to do what if Tony Stark became Star-Lord. But knowing that Chadwick wanted to get as much done as possible, I can respect that.
And
it's similar to how Raul Julia agreed to do the Street Fighter movie, even though he was dying of cancer, but he did it for his kids. It's like, and if Raul Julia, a man dying of a terminal illness, can turn dog shit into diamonds, God fucking speed, my man.
Absolutely.
The one thing I will say about Redeemed Thanos in this, I did love his interactions when he tried to defend his original plan.
Yes, I feel like the whole idea of just throwing Thanos as part of the Ravagers, I think that was just intentionally done for laughs and just turning that into a running gag where it's like, hey, I know your idea is better. I just want to say my idea could have worked.
Though, what if really shown that Thanos was not much of a threat?
Yeah.
That's definitely where like the whole meme. I feel like that's what started this recent meme where it's like bosses when you fight them versus bosses after you've unlocked them.
Yeah.
And also oh, go ahead.
It's just like it also revealed that the most terrifying thing in the entire multiverse is a 90-year-old Michael Douglas.
Because what I learned from this is that T'Challa and Thanos got into a political argument on his idea, and Thanos was like, okay, this guy's making sense. And what my mind was, all we had to do was talk to him.
I like to imagine that it's kind of like it's that one executive or one artist that surrounds themselves with people who agree with all their ideas, and someone finally comes along and goes, "Actually, your idea is kind of shit." Oh my god! Finally, someone said it. But it's like imagine what if someone stood up to George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
Said, "This prequel shit, you need to rewrite it." Oh
listen,
my god!
Your ideas were better. I just want to say Jar Jar could have worked.
So what I said was true from a certain point of view.
And that's my plan to bring balance. That sounds like genocide. It sounds like a solution.
And that has been your obligatory George Lucas reference.
Right, because whenever I have you on a video, it's like we have to throw in one.
Yeah. Oh, fuck it. All right. Yeah. You know what? Fuck it. One more. Ponder the question. What if Star Wars was made with computers? And that's your law. I'm not doing any more.
Not just some computers. All of it was computers.
What if Jar Jar was the key to all of this?
What if George Lucas got to do what he wanted to do with Jar Jar?
What if Ultron
I'm pretty sure Disney would have bought Star Wars sooner.
But
better yet, what if Disney Star Wars was good?
Oh,
no, Random. We said what ifs, not implausibilities.
But now I will also another thing I want to say is I'm really happy they brought back Yondu's actor for this.
Oh yeah. I really liked his interactions with Star-Lord. Or yeah, he is called Star-Lord.
Yeah.
I also found it funny that like they recreated that scene, the opening scene from the first Guardians of the Galaxy scene, because that was the scene that was in all the trailers, so everyone knew. It's like, who are you? I'm Star-Lord. Who? And I kind of I love that sort of subversion of expectations, where instead you have that one guy with the exact opposite reaction, where he's just a complete fanboy for T'Challa Star-Lord.
No, one thing I did wish they do with the name Star-Lord, I kind of wish that T'Challa doesn't really like it because he doesn't want to have a powerful name like that. He just wants to be T'Challa.
Well, that's what happens. He doesn't like being called a lord, but that's just the name that was given to him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. I guess you're right there. Also, another thing I actually liked the Collector in this as a villain.
Yes, that was a great way. Like, I feel like the Collector was underutilized as a villain in the MCU movies, but here he definitely got his time to shine.
Yeah, again, this is the bright side. This is a great thing about What If. They improve a lot of the characters that they didn't use much in the movies, like Howard the Duck.
I was just about to mention him. Yes, and I feel he was voiced by Seth Green, right?
Yep, in both the movie and in this.
Okay, because in
the Guardians of the Galaxy cartoon, oddly enough. Okay,
because when I heard his voice, I could definitely recognize it from Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
It also has, like, I mean, we'll notice this as we go along, but the one complaint I do have with the episode, and it's another thing this series does, they end the episodes on these cliffhangers that are never justified or never, there's no great payoff to it.
Right, because, like, we ended up with, so I'm just wondering, did you know the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, James?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen both films. So
okay, so
I like the first one. Still not a big fan of the second one.
Really?
Because it's like they set the end of this episode. They have Peter Quill reunite with his dad. You're like, oh shit, what's gonna go? Oh, it's been resolved in like 5 seconds in the last episode.
Actually, not really, because that's not Ego's real body.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they set up this intrigue and mystery, and it's just kind of okay. We're done with that now.
Yeah, but it's still kind of lose that
did
ego
the same
still
thing.
attacking though.
Yeah, they did the same thing with the Killmonger episode as well. So,
I feel like that was at least at the very least when it came to the T'Challa Star-Lord episode, they resolved the main plot of that story and introduced a new plot line saying like, hey, this universe has more adventures up. There's more stories to tell with this, type of universe.
Mm.
When it came to the, I guess I'll get into it later, but when it came to the Killmonger episode, that didn't even get a proper ending. Its main story just like abruptly ended right there.
Yeah. Now, two things about this episode I did want to bring up. One, they were planning to give it a spinoff, the T'Challa Star-Lord episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I'm not sure how well that would have worked. I think it works better as a one-off.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And also, I kind of wish they didn't show T'Challa actually in Wakanda. I was kind of hoping they show him heading towards Wakanda, and then it ends with Ego reuniting with Peter.
I don't know. I like the idea of like T'Challa introducing his real dad to his adopted alien dad. I thought it was like a really touching scene.
Actually, I'm upset that T'Challa didn't gain a southern accent being raised by Yondu.
Oh, he still got to live 10 years in Wakanda.
Yeah, I know, but I was kind of hoping that he'd lose his accent and gain a southern one, and then he goes back to his dad going, "Pa, how are you doing?" What the
Mary Poppins, yo.
Let's see. So, and one last thing is Nebula. It was really nice seeing like this radically different version of her, and like her role as like a sort of femme fatale like character fit well with this sci-fi heist premise.
Yeah, now, when I saw her design when I saw the Marvel Legends figure of her, I thought she was the character Copycat, who was Deadpool's first love interest in the comics.
Yeah,
because she looks a lot like her.
Although I honestly thought of the character Miss Blue, if you're familiar with
with Raph's work.
Don't tell Raph.
Oh no, he knows. He already knows.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And it was like, you motherfuckers!
But I mean, to be fair, I love the actress who plays Nebula. I mean, I keep forgetting her last name, but I know her name's Karen.
Karen Gillan?
That's the one. Because that's the ideal person I have in mind to basically play Maggie, and it's just like, really? She looks good and she'll kick your ass. Which also helps because the actress is Scottish, so the stars align, as it were.
That is very true, and she's a redhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely loved her in Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, she was in Doctor Who.
I've never seen it personally.
Oh yeah, if you ever
I'm the only British man who has never watched Doctor Who. Make of that what you will.
I would say if you ever watched any, you know what I would say, if you ever watch any of the 11th Doctor stuff, just for Amie for Karen Gillan as Amie Pond, I think you'd be in for a good time.
Yeah, I have been told to avoid the new one they're currently doing.
Yeah.
But let's
not because of the actress, because
of
the writers. That's the sad part. I think the actress has potential to be a good Doctor, but the writer doesn't help.
It's just like, why haven't you watched it? Yes.
but anyway, are we on to episode 3, aka what should have been episode 1?
Depends. Any other last? One last thing I'll say for the T'Challa Star-Lord episode. It was a very touching, tribute to Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, it was a good tribute to Chadwick. I will give him that.
Yeah, it definitely got the feels at the end. By the end,
agreed.
So the next episode 3. Which I nicknamed the Everybody Dies episode. So in this one,
or the whodunit.
Yeah. This is a murder mystery plot in which someone is picking off the original lineup of Avengers one by one.
Except for Captain America, because they didn't know he existed.
Right.
Well, not existed, but they know he was still alive.
Right. And I thought this was it was rather interesting to see concepts from newer MCU movies be brought up during the events of older MCU movies.
Yeah.
Which in this case, one of the things that they showed was they had Betty Ross. It was really nice to see Betty Ross again because like she
that blew my mind.
Yeah, she just like disappeared to like vanished into nothingness like after the Incredible Hulk movie. But it was really surreal to see her interacting with Black Widow. And from her dialogue, it sounded as if in the main MCU, Black Widow had at some point visited Betty Ross in order to locate the Hulk for the Avengers initiative.
Because I think it has been implied in a tie-in comic that she did apprehend the leader. And I think it's kind of bullshit.
I remember.
It is bullshit they handled that in a comic.
Yeah, I always hated things, especially when they have like when the directors say this is what happened in the movie, but don't actually put it in the movie.
Oh, you know the reason why they never end up following up on that. Like the reason why there's never been technically never been another Hulk movie.
Due to Universal's rights to the Hulk, right?
Sort of. So what happens was whatever money the Hulk, any Hulk movie makes, Universal gets a cut of that profit. And so Disney said, no, we don't want those fuckers to get any money. So we're just going to put Hulk in other people's movies. And that's why we've never had a follow-up to The Incredible Hulk.
And that's why we had Professor Hulk, who was probably the worst Hulk.
Guys, time travel is possible. I'm gonna say it the most douchey way possible.
I call him Shulk, the mix of Hulk and
I'm not saying I hate Mark Ruffalo. I'm just saying that scene made me think, wow, you're a prick.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo.
But
diss him Back to the Future. We don't have that kind of talk in my house.
But one thing I absolutely love with this episode is Nick Fury, because this felt like Nick Fury from the comics.
Oh, true. Yeah. He was definitely him and Black Widow. I feel
Black Widow
were very standout characters in this one.
Yeah.
And it also began the trend of killing, where Tony Stark became the Kenny McCormick of What If.
Yeah, the deaths in this was pretty dark, by the way.
Oh, yeah, especially the Hulks. He just exploded from the inside out.
His heart blew up. It increased in size and blew up on him.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I was, this is on Disney Plus. What the fuck?
Let's see. And a little thing that was a bit strange was the fact that apparently The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, and Thor all
in the same week.
Were all happened around the exact same time.
Yeah,
I like to think it was just them making a Seven reference. Because the title card is like Monday, Tuesday. Apparently, it's a reference to the movie Seven.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Though you gotta wonder what happened to like the villains other than Loki. What happened to like Abomination? During it's like he was ready to fight Hulk during that one scene. He died, and then he comes out. Hulk blew up. Like what the fuck? I got ready for this.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't get any Neil Blomsky.
He's just waiting on the set, tapping his watch, going, "He's late."
He's doing like the
Sonic
Ross,
tapping.
It's like fucking Freddy Krueger and Jason. I don't get it. They should have been here by now. What are you gonna do?
Hey Ross, is he ready? Actually, he's dead. But I put so much gamma radiation inside me. I don't know the side effects of that.
And meanwhile, there's poor Mickey Rourke just sitting in a jail cell, just going, "Is anyone going to get my boyd? I want my boyd."
Instead, we ended up with Loki as the only villain from any of those movies, who is sort of a reoccurring plot thread
and
that culminates.
It's so good to see the evil Loki again.
True.
Oh,
and Tom Hiddleston does it so great.
I just thought something. In that universe, Justin Hammer is now the richest fucker on the planet.
Uh-oh.
Tony Stark's dead. He comes swaggering out doing his little dance from Iron Man 2. Diddle-it.
Yeah, now one thing I did want to say here, this episode gave me like real Flashpoint vibes to it.
Really? Oh yeah. In terms of like just everything going wrong for everybody?
Yes, it's more of the darker universe where everything was supposed to have been good has started to fall apart.
Mm-hmm. That is definitely true.
Yeah. And also then you have like the Asgardians taking over. Kind of reminds me of the Amazonians and the Atlanteans taking over.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can I just say I know we're jumping the gun a little bit, but can I just say the reveal of the assassin was utter fucking dog shit.
I actually like the reveal.
Yeah, I liked
the thing is, because I'll explain what I mean. It's just
Sure.
because when the episode began, it's like when you have in the knowledge that Hydra has been growing inside of Shield, since the end of World War II,
Yeah.
and you sort of begin to ask the question: wait, if Hydra knew about the Avengers initiative, why didn't they stop it? And then when the Avengers started getting killed one by one, I was thinking either this is a Hydra agent or the Winter Soldier just got a lot fucking darker than it should have. And when they did finally do the reveal, it's just like,
Okay, I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
that maybe that would have been interesting, but I do like the twist. Can I say the twist, Andres?
No, yeah, absolutely. We're spoiling this all
That we
all the way.
actually got Hank Pym as Yellow Jacket, which in the comics is when he's at his most insane.
True, yeah.
He kind of looked
Which here he's at his most insane and he's at his lowest points. The true name of the name of the episode should be "What If Hope Van Dyne Died."
But then that would have spoiled everything.
That would have spoiled it. But that's pretty much the true point. That's pretty much what separated it from the main Marvel movies.
What if Michael Douglas was the most terrifying man in the multiverse?
Yeah. And that's what another thing. The performance of Yellow Jacket in this episode was fantastic.
Was it Michael Douglas?
Loved how he came. What?
Was it actually Michael Douglas voicing him again?
Yeah, it actually was him. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And of course, I loved his fight with quote unquote Nick Fury during this.
Mm-hmm. I thought it ended a bit too anticlimactically.
Yeah.
But that's been the theme with some of these episodes. They just end abruptly when you're kind of like, wait, is that it?
Right. Where it's like, oh, it's Loki. He just kicked his ass.
This is the episode I wanted a sequel to, but if they were actually ever going to do sequels, this is the one I wanted one to.
Yeah, they definitely established like other heroes existing around this time.
Yeah, because especially since it's only a 2-team Avengers technically.
Mm-hmm. Or unless it's like you get, Captain America, Captain Marvel, and then maybe Black Panther or whoever, Shang-Chi. It was definitely it left a very interesting.
And Andres, they won't get him because in this universe they still didn't decide to use him yet.
Right, but I'm saying like in this universe it would have been interesting to have seen a new alternate.
Or the Eternals, they decided to actually help.
Yeah.
We decided we're all powerful godly beings, but we decided just to sit that Thanos stuff out. We're good guys, by the way.
God, that still aggravates me.
The fact people I saw an image marker of that where it says like, oh, we chose not to intervene, and they managed to edit the Eternals logo into useless.
That's hilarious.
Yep. But
speaking of humor, I think besides the reveal, the biggest pet peeve I had with this episode was a lot of the forced comedy they threw in here for no reason. That's always
the issue with the MCU, though.
It's like there's an alien body that on this table that's dead. This man has died. Ooh, his hair smells like lavender. It's like, is that really the time for this?
I'm guessing, like, I remember, what was it, Jeremy Johns mentioned this in his review of the series, is he mentioned you can definitely see when they were replicating the type of humor from early MCU and when they were trying to go for later MCU humor.
Yeah. And that's definitely a downfall for me when it comes to the series. Everything else I love, but the humor is, so forced into scenes that don't need it. This is something you'll definitely see in the Marvel Zombies episode.
Oh,
yeah.
definitely.
I mean, the only joke I truly laughed at was when Loki is doing his grand address to Nick Fury and his phone's going. And in the end, he's just like, "Look, are you going to take that? I'm kind of in the middle of a thing here."
What I did like was when
it was funny because it was in character for Loki, because this is a guy who's constantly in love with the sound of his own voice, and he's constantly
very true.
Being interrupted and put down. It's a little bit silly, but the joke is in character.
No, actually, I love when Loki introduced himself to Hank Pym after beating him as Nick Fury. Because, hello, trickster god.
Let's see. One thing I thought was kind of interesting was that in this universe they established that Hope did become the Wasp earlier at some point before the events of Iron Man, I'm assuming. And she ended up, what happened to her mother ended up happening to her as well. She just shrank to death, or quote unquote death. So I'm wondering, what exactly was Hope doing as the Wasp prior to this episode, because the reason I don't like that is that it kind of ruins the idea that Tony Stark was the first modern superhero in this universe, but apparently Wasp was on some sort of covert mission, and that's what got her killed, and that's what got Hank Pym to go crazy. It's why I say I don't like the reveal that Hank's the killer, because they just go, Hope died, you know. It's just it felt like a very shoehorned.
They definitely should have built it up a lot more.
Because they name drop Pierce near the beginning of the episode, and it's kind of like it would have made more sense if the reveal was that he comes out, Nick Fury, and goes, "Yeah, you were developing this Avengers thing. Well, I'm Hydra, and we decided, no."
That is the interesting thing, because that never comes up in any of these episodes. The fact that SHIELD was Hydra all along. In fact, we get the actor who plays the character that would go on to become the villain Crossbones, and we see him show up a lot in several episodes. And I'm thinking, is this guy going to end up fighting the good guys at some point in any of these episodes? Because we know, because we're all MCU, we're all familiar enough with the MCU to know that's the bad guy. We know.
Actually, I wanted there to be like an episode where Nick Fury was like Red Skull in disguise for this whole time.
Or it turns out he was actually the one killing them off.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure about. Although that would fit Nick Fury in the comics, though he'd probably been more paranoid about the Avengers than anything else.
Yeah, like once they've outlived their usefulness, like they have to go now.
Yeah.
I will say that while it does make more sense to have Hydra as the villains behind the death of the Avengers, I definitely liked the portrayal of Hank Pym and as Yellow Jacket.
Agreed.
So the ending didn't bother me as much, and the way they laid it out, how he killed each one of them, made sense to me as someone who can shrink and can literally be like practically invisible to where he can screw its mess up events that badly. So I thought they did it in a believable way. I
did love the final fight between him and Loki as Nick Fury.
But yeah, I just felt it ended too quickly.
Yeah.
Like it's just the way he did it. Like you said, the way he killed them was cool. It's just I just have a problem with that justification. It's just it felt very cheap. Like, oh, his daughter died. Wait, his daughter wouldn't have been Wasp at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, but
she apparently was.
Hey, look over there, and they run for the hills.
Another thing I did want to mention is that Samuel Jackson clearly had fun in the last few lines there when he was Loki in disguise.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, I could complain. I could complain about some of the forced pop culture references. But
I do not like pop culture references.
It's just like, are they from this Earth? Try Middle Earth. Oh, because Lord of the Rings is a thing. Ha 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 ha.
Who's the goth?
But again, that's kind of what MCU does now. I mean, I fucking hated the Squidward joke, for example. It's just like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would he know what SpongeBob is?
Well, pretty much, to that joke's defense, everyone knows SpongeBob at this point.
I'm still confused why Yellow Jacket called Loki a goth kid. He wasn't really wearing dark clothes. His clothes were relatively colorful.
Yeah.
It's probably the hair.
I'm surprised.
He's wearing the helmet.
I'm surprised his boomer ass knows what a goth is. Who gets with the maker?
James, what do you think he was practicing killing before the Avengers?
Yeah.
He was sneaking into goth kids' drinks and blowing up their hearts.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any last thoughts on the Everyone Dies episode?
I will say this is probably one of my favorite episodes of the series.
I love this episode. I just stare at that reveal and go, I see what you're saying. I get it. I understand it. I still think it's fucking dumb, though.
Yeah, I do think it should have been better build up to it being Hank Pym. Because
like, if it was revealed that Hank Pym was a Hydra agent, fine, fair enough. But it's dumb.
I wouldn't say
cool.
Hydra agent, but I would still have Hydra involved in one way. Maybe throughout the whole thing, Nick Fury does learn that Hydra was involved, but it's not them killing the Avengers. It's actually Yellow Jacket who pretty much Hydra tricked into doing this.
Like maybe they supplied him with the tech and the weapons he needed to pull it off.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, fine.
Yeah, see,
he mourns Hope's death, and then Pierce, from Winter Soldier's like, oh, of course I'll help you get revenge, but you do a little thing for me, and I'll make sure that that Nick Fury gets what's coming to him. And it's like because it's just like, oh, he killed my daughter. I now hate the Avengers. Like,
yep.
Well, unfortunately, this episode has the same excuse that James Rolfe has when it comes to doing anything on Cinemassacre. They don't have any time.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't hate the reveal because I just loved the performance of Yellow Jacket in this. It was great. And also, I just love that they had a comic accurate Hank Pym in it.
Crazy old
We get
Michael Douglas.
The return of crazy evil bastard Hank.
Except he wasn't a wife beater this time.
Who knows? Maybe he was. Maybe he did beat the shit out of
He couldn't.
Now, guys, come on. We can't have that kind of violent, unwholesome entertainment on Disney Plus. I mean, but by the way, while you're on Disney Plus, do check out The Walking Dead and Deadpool. It's like,
So we can't have abuse, but we can have the Hulk exploding.
Yeah. As long as it's not humanoid, it can die.
And as long as his blood is not red. That's the thing. No blood in any of these episodes.
And, well, because it's cheaper, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's, I guess, what a big factor as to why all these episodes are only like 30 minutes each. Animation ain't cheap.
Yeah, and I gotta say,
I feel like it'd be cheaper than the Marvel shows they've been doing on here.
This is still the most expensive-looking GameCube cutscenes I've ever seen.
Hey, it's more of a continuation of the MTV Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah, the one that had the really gothic, like Mary Jane.
Yeah, the one that pretty much copied the look of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy.
Oh yeah.
With no Aunt May.
That's pretty much what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a sequel to those.
Right, with no Aunt May because because Aunt May ain't cool for kids.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the evil Doctor Strange episode.
The best episode. You stay out of this, James.
I don't know.
So
I'll tell you what. I'll get mine out of the way real quick, so I have the least amount to say to this one.
Okay.
I will say that What If does not have any bad episodes. Like because normally with a series you can go, this is the worst episode, this is the best episode. But for me, What If doesn't have a bad episodes. There are just episodes where I go, I don't get it, or I don't understand. And since I haven't seen the Doctor Strange movie, I just watched this episode and like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I didn't watch this as someone who watched the Doctor Strange movie. I watched this as a fan of the comics Doctor Strange.
Oh, fair enough. Have fun.
For me, I'm kind of in the middle between you two. So I did watch the Doctor Strange movie. I thought it was perfectly fine, though I haven't revisited it just because it was one. It's definitely a case with a lot of later MCU movies where these are not kind of the kind of type of movies you want to revisit time and time again, like the first Iron Man movie. These are just movies that you watch one time, you enjoy them for what they're worth, and then never revisit them again because the only reason why anyone watches an MCU product is to see where these characters end up going for the next episode, for the next movie.
Yeah. They're basically homework assignments, is what.
Yes, they're slightly more entertaining homework assignments. So, like I said, I enjoyed Doctor Strange for what it's worth, but yeah, there's nothing about it that makes me want to makes me want to revisit it. But that said, so going into this episode, seeing this version of Doctor Strange going through a case where rather than losing his hands, he loses his heart, metaphorically speaking. And so I wasn't really all that invested in the character just because I wasn't invested in Doctor Strange, the MCU character itself.
Definitely something I wanted to bring up here.
Yeah.
In the comic books, one of the big things in Doctor Strange's past is he lost his sister. I was really hoping that they'd go that route for this, but since the sister was in the movies, they couldn't use her.
Right, so they had to use his love interest, which
I feel like that would have been more
forgot.
impactful. I feel like if it was the sister, it would have been more impactful because even the movie, the love interest didn't play a big role in it.
Right. So there was like two characters I didn't really feel emotionally attached to right out the gate. And I thought it was very strange how strange that he ended up going
very Armani.
So like
I got it.
So the reason why Doctor Strange in the movie ends up going to that Tibetan monastery to learn magic or sorcery was so he can reclaim the use of his hands. But the fact that in here he doesn't have, he still has his hands. So I'm thinking, why does he still end up learning magic?
They said it was more of a way to try to ease his heart after it.
Yeah, that explanation was like brushed over really fast. And again, this is just that reoccurring issue of there's just not enough time to flesh out these stories.
That's why I think they should have done the idea with the sister, because then it could have had it that he still went to the accident that caused him to lose his hands, but he'd still go back in time to fix try to save someone he lost.
I guess so, yeah. And so
that's like I said, that's the issue with What If. They have to use anything that's in the Marvel movies. They can't go any further.
Yeah, and although the weird thing is they don't even, unlike the Captain Carter episode, they don't even touch upon the events of the Doctor Strange movie past that point. Once he starts training, we immediately skip to the end of the Doctor Strange movie, and that's where like the real plot happens, where he attempts to go back in time again and again and again to save his girlfriend, only to fail time and time and time again, which I got like bizarre flashbacks to the time I think it was, what was it, like the 2000s time adaptation of the Time Machine, where you also had a character who made a time machine so he can rescue his girlfriend, only for her to die again and again because the universe fucking hates him.
Now I will say, as much as I don't feel a connection for her as a love interest for him, I do think it was a tragic scene seeing him try his best to save her, no matter what, but it ended up failing.
And this is where like Benedict Cumberbatch really shines as an actor, because you could feel the pain that he's going through as he just becomes more and more he grows more and more hopeless with each failed attempt. Even when he like tries to ignore her, he does his best to like just not do anything with her. She still ends up like just biting the bullet in the end. So
I like how even though they do the whole, hey, let's just not go out at all, she still she has like a heart attack at a pizza place.
It's like, come on.
You're all thinking, the fuck?
Now, reason I love this episode so much is this felt like Doctor Strange to me, because in the movies they made Doctor Strange basically Tony Stark with magic.
Yeah.
Here, this felt like Doctor Strange. He was pretty much a darker version of Iron Man in a way. So he wasn't really that cocky. He dealt with dark forces. He had his own issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And,
no, go ahead.
I would say, like, at the episode... So, this another weird thing is just, like, is it me, or does this feel like this contradicts what was established when it came to how time travel works? Because... they mentioned the MCU establishes the sort of like a multiverse DBZ style logic of time traveling, where if you go back to the past and change something, you end up creating an alternate universe. I don't want to bring in Loki and the Loki Disney Plus series involved in this, but they explain like the multiverse did not exist prior to Loki. And because of Loki, now the multiverse exists, so Marvel What If exists.
I'm also going to say, I think that What If is actually its own thing and not actually connected to the MCU, mainly because you have questions like, where did the Watcher come from before the multiverse existed? Why is it in this universe, why did Rebecca, Doctor Strange's girlfriend, play such an important role that she couldn't be erased?
Mm.
Things like that.
I just find it strange that like now they establish that the future is not, you cannot change the past because the forces of the universe will attempt to correct itself.
No, I will bring this up because this was mentioned at the end that each universe is they even said that each universe is unique, even the slightest way. This might just be something that's part of his universe.
Okay, I just find it weird that it's like the universe is not allowing his girlfriend to survive, even though Avengers Endgame established that you can go back and change something, and it's just going to lead to branch off into a new universe.
Yeah, that's the issue when it comes to both a shared universe and time travel. You're going to have contradictions.
Right, but so I guess like if I look at this on its own, isolated from any other MCU thing, it is a really cool concept. A tragic but interesting concept, I mean, someone to attempt to save his girlfriend only for the universe to tell him, fuck no. Go fuck yourself.
I like to imagine every time he tries, like a disembodied Mark Ruffalo head goes, "Guy, that's not how time travel works."
Oh, and probably one of my favorite scenes in this, other than the last few minutes, I'll get in that second, is I love the when the evil Doctor Strange goes back in time, we start seeing the process of how he becomes stronger by absorbing all these other mythical creatures.
Yeah, that was definitely where the episode picked up for me, where it's like, okay, it looks like they're definitely going in a very more interesting direction. Yeah, and it was also cool seeing that some of the demons were animated in 2D.
So the animation in that scene were great, and also a lot of them were actually from the comics.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
And hey, we got the return.
Not even the gnomes.
And we even got the return of Shuma Gorath.
And Doctor Strange ate him.
Yes. Hyper combo KO.
And I will say, was really impressed that they had the balls to destroy a whole universe rather than going with some sort of hopeful ending like some of these episodes.
I absolutely love that interaction between Doctor Strange and the Watcher at the end.
Yes, that was great. It's like I've heard about you. I've read stories about you. You can change this. I'm like, sorry, man. You've been given every single warning.
Yeah, and also I like
to imagine it was like in that moment, Stephen Strange is Disney, and I'm breaking my promise, but what George Lucas is the Watcher. Is like, I'm not getting involved in this. But you can undo this. No, I'm not.
Yes, and also I love
now get fucked in it.
Also, I love evil Doctor Strange's outfit because it's based off the actual comic design.
Oh, it looks straight up pimpin'.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, a movie based off the comics? That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I also really love the fight between good Doctor Strange and the evil Doctor Strange. That was a visually great fight.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
And that was something Go ahead.
It's like the evil Superman versus Clark Kent scene from Superman 4, but with a budget.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is the kind of fight I wanted to see in the movies, but again, this is the advantage animation has over live action movies.
Oh, undisputedly.
Okay, so, any last words on the evil Doctor Strange episode?
This is probably his best performance as Doctor Strange, in my opinion.
You know what? I'd say so. Yeah, this is definitely his. It's kind of sad that like of all his cinematic appearances, this is where we get the best Cumberbatch performance.
Well, because he's actually good at voice acting anyway, so he probably excelled at doing this.
Oh yeah,
very true. Meanwhile, like for someone like say, I guess I'll get into it when we get into the next episode.
There was one thing I did want to bring up.
Yes.
Did anyone else hard kind of break at the end there where he was crying in his own prison he made for himself?
Oh yeah.
That's kind of a metaphor in itself, though, isn't it? You know, you made your bed, now lie in it.
Mm-hmm. So I'd say for most of this episode, I wasn't exactly digging it, but that ending saved it for me personally.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, and me and Dad were watching this and they never do this in the mainstream movies.
Oh, of course not. Yeah. Test audiences would hate it. It's like, do you guys remember the original ending for the remake of Little Shop of Horrors?
Yes, it was supposed to have been where Audrey 2 won.
Yes, and there was a big climactic special effects extravaganza where Audrey's offspring end up taking over the world, and then test audiences hated it. They scrapped the whole thing and made a generic Hollywood happy ending.
Let's do the Scooby-Doo ending. Sorry, couldn't resist.
Oh no, I get it. I get that reference. I understood that reference. So moving on to. Moving on to the Marvel Zombies episode.
Yes!
Oh, zombies!
So
they're pretty as a picture.
I liked a lot of ideas presented in this episode, but for me, this was my least favorite, simply because of one big problem, that being tonal whiplash.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with this.
Yeah, the humor mixed in with the dark elements.
It's like it wants to be Zombieland, but it cannot handle its humor, right?
Yeah, here's the thing. In the comic books, there was humor, but it wasn't this kind of humor. It was like humor that fits.
It was
very dark humor.
Yeah, dark humor, definitely. This
it was definitely dark humor, but it still worked into scenes.
Yeah, instead
one thing I will say, though, is I do like the virus, how it worked, where it came from, and all that. Because that's something we didn't get in the comics, with the origin of the virus.
Well, we saw it did in the concluding story arc, but it's kind of...
But it was like it wasn't an actual origin. It was just more of a never-ending loop.
Time
loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, they couldn't use the Sentry, so they had to use another, patient zero for this one.
Yeah. And one thing I did like was they did keep a lot of nods from the comics, like Spider-Man is the lead hero of this. Wasp is also lead hero. The Avengers are the reason the virus spread. Don't know why. There's only like 5 of them.
It's kind of why I didn't. I mean, when he's narrating, saying, when the Avengers joined the undead, Earth's future was lot. So like 6 people caused the apocalypse. Yeah, okay. It made more sense in the comics because there was like a whole planet full of Marvel superheroes. Yeah,
in the comics, it was actually Quicksilver that caused the virus to spread.
Yeah,
whereas but he's dead.
Quicksilver's dead at this point. Yeah,
not zombie dead, but dead.
Yeah,
he's mostly dead.
I also like the survivors. I also thought was a cool team. I also thought was a cool team for that. You got Winter Soldier. You got the Wakandan Warrior, Spider-Man, Wasp.
Okoye, I think her name is.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I like her.
You got a cool, like I say, you got a cool team of survivors, and I also like that Bruce Banner is one of the survivors here.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually he's the first to become a zombie because, the Hulk zombie was the strongest.
Oh, okay. And
that would have been... It would have been too obvious to do that, and they kind of needed, Because I think if they made Hulk a zombie in this story, they'd be like, how the fuck are they supposed to win this?
Yeah. Now...
Who was the Eastern European guy? Was he just made up for this episode?
Oh, no, he was from Ant-Man.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he was...
Oh, shit, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
And fun fact, he's also in The Dark Knight.
Oh wow. Yeah, he was. Yep, he's also in Batman: The Long Halloween as Calendar Man. He was in the MacGyver series. He was in a lot of things.
Because he's the guy that Two-Face is interrogating in The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, you're right. I remember his face now.
He's a schizophrenic. He sometimes thinks he's an Ant-Man.
Now, one thing I do give credit to this episode, it gets dark. It gets dark, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But every time it does a dark moment, they ruin it with a bit of comedy.
Yeah, that's the downside. One thing I was surprised is they kept what happened to T'Challa from the comics in it.
Yeah, that was a really fucked up scene right there.
Yeah,
considering the man's no longer with us, it's like, ooh dear.
Yeah, it's like maybe you should have waited you should have placed the T'Challa Star-Lord episode after this one.
Yeah. I was upset that Hank Pym was the one that caused the virus, but we didn't see him again as the zombie.
Yeah.
When in the comics, he was like the leader of the Marvel zombies.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which is very... But I did love the zombie designs, except for Hawkeye's. He was the weirdest looking one. I love the zombie Captain America. I think that was the best looking design.
Oh yeah, there's a reason why.
Too.
Yeah, and there's a reason why they put him on the poster for.
And why he's the only one that has a figure.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, but one thing I do notice is they do use what I call the childish zombie features, as in they make the zombie's eyes yellow instead of the pale white.
Yeah. Or red in some things.
No, while in the figure of zombie Captain America, it's white like a zombie should be.
I think just to sort of chime in on what we were saying earlier is the humor is so, like you said, mood whiplash. It's just, it cripples the episode. One scene in particular is when when Wasp kills Sharon by exploding out of her, and what should have been like, everyone would have been like, "Oh fuck, what just happened?" They turn it into this weird joke. I'm covered in Sharon. The kid has hand sanitizer, and you're still waiting for the laugh track to play.
I was thinking, your friend just blew up there. You're not gonna mourn her, or
is
it weird that, or like if I did a cut of this episode, it'd be the kid has hand sanitizer.
Damn it! You stole my joke.
Now, one character I kind of let it go when it comes to humor is the head of Ant-Man, just because I think he's supposed to be the zombie Hawkeye from the comics, the one that was who was decapitated, his head was buried under rubble for years, and he kind of went insane under there.
Or unless you're thinking about Headpool, the zombie bodiless
Nope. In the comic books, Hawkeye was a severed head as well, and he went insane because he was left alone.
Oh yeah, they attached it in they put him in a robot body.
Yeah, they put him in Wasp's former body. He has boobs, and he was confused why he had boobs. Yeah, that's the kind of humor you got from Marvel Zombies. You got humor like that. That's the kind of humor they should have done here.
It's funny you mentioned Headpool, but it does kind of highlight the whole problem, is because I know I mentioned this earlier, where when all you have is just like the brief MCU characters as your main zombie horde versus the legions upon legions of undead superheroes from the comics, they don't even bother to explain, so they can still have all their powers, but they can't talk.
Yeah. Now, also another thing is the zombie superheroes died pretty easily.
Yeah, how the fuck did Iron Man become? It's like you got a complete head to toe armored suit on.
Yeah, in the comics they got him when he was out of his armor.
Yeah, whereas you see him in the episode, he gets Kenny McCormick off the screen, and you sort of think, how the fuck did they penetrate that suit? And also, I feel like this is the one episode where the timeline doesn't quite work out, because here we have. The episode is taking place during the Infinity War saga, and yet the Avengers team consists of Cap, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Black Panther. Did Civil War play out differently in this universe? It's like, did the Sokovia Accords even happen? Did Ultron even happen? Mm-hmm.
Also, we did see a zombie Black Widow, despite the fact she was there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? Because I made a joke about it, saying that we see her get pulled to the ground, but we don't ever see her again. And I made a joke saying, I'm guessing that her death and reanimation was bumped onto Zombie Plus.
One thing I don't like, and this is a thing that's applies to a lot of zombie fiction, where zombies never seem to want to finish their meals. They just take one bite out of their victim, and then immediately look for their next meal, despite having a fresh corpse right there. Why do they do that? So they can produce, so that the plot can produce another zombie. Too.
Well, now in the comics, the virus was specifically meant to do that. It is that the zombies want to infect superhumans and not eat them.
Right. But that's clearly not the case here.
But that's not mentioned here because there's only 5 superhumans. There'd only be 5 zombies.
And this episode's only half an hour.
And that's kind of why I was saying the threat is so minuscule, because it says with 6 superpowered beings the Earth was brought to its knees. I'm like, bullshit.
And the fact that again they're doing the standard contrivancy of zombies never finishing their meals, so that it's a contrived way of producing more zombies.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm very upset that the zombie heroes aren't a bigger threat, because they died pretty easily in it.
Yeah, although I do like what they ended up doing with zombie Scarlet Witch. Zombie Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, that one was a good one. I also like the fact that the one guy called her Baba Yaga, and she kind of looked like the depiction of how you imagine Baba Yaga.
Yeah. They turned
the creepy music when they show her off. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Right. Because what zombie would be scary than one that could manipulate reality?
Yeah. I also like Vision in this episode.
Because I have heard someone say that when we see her in that hallway with that creepy red flare, I've heard someone say that it's a distorted version of the WandaVision theme song.
Oh.
I've never seen the show, so I don't know if that's true or not.
I never picked up on that, so I got to look back on it.
Because it's kind of like a weird, distorted, wah, but essentially it's the tune of WandaVision, and I'm like, I've never watched the show, so I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay, then. Cool. Let's see. Anything else I wanted to bring up? Surprisingly, for an episode about zombies, no blood. Again, no blood, not a whole lot of gore. So I'm surprised that they were able to.
I
Yeah,
was still kind of surprised they did the whole thing where the ants ate the flesh of the zombie Doctor Strange and Wong.
that's true. Yeah, but again, no blood. So, but this is more like
it's a Disney sanitized zombie apocalypse.
I'll
I'm
give
so
it.
amazed they went with Marvel Zombies as a idea of this. That still surprises me.
That's what I wanted to say. It's that like I'm impressed with what they were able to do given their limitations.
Though I still wanted more. That, like I said, because Marvel Zombies is one of my favorite of Marvel comics.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was kind of hoping for something on the line similar to the second to Marvel Zombies 3, I believe, that had like Machine Man going to the zombie universe trying to find a cure, trying to find samples so they can make a vaccine if it ever goes to the main Marvel movies, main Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping in this case it would be Vision that would do that.
Well, they sort of imply that he is trying to find a cure.
Yeah, see, they did kind of put that in there, but at the same time, he was also, cutting up people and feeding them to his girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
Which kind of made which kind of was darker than what happened in the comics, because it was Giant Man that did this to Hawkeye, so he could avoid his own hunger for a while. Not Hawkeye,
You mean
but
Black Panther.
Black Panther, so he could avoid his hunger for a while. Vision was doing this with someone else, and he's a machine that wasn't meant to kill people.
Right.
So it kind of makes it darker.
True. Yeah. One other thing I want to bring up was this is the very first time we've seen MCU Spidey bring up Uncle Ben.
Yeah. That's another thing. I absolutely love this depiction of Spider-Man in this. This is the most.
That's how you know this was written by comic fans.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
I would say this is probably like the most Spider-Man This is probably like perhaps the best performance of Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
He's not Tom Holland, by the way.
It's not Tom Holland.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I will say this.
I'd say it's a good impersonation of him.
Definitely, yeah. I would say, like, for anyone.
What I will say is, that Joss Keaton, who played Spider-Man in the Spectacular Spider-Man series, played Steve Rogers in this series.
He did, yes.
Wow.
So there was a Spider-Man involved.
True. Well, you know what? That's the thing. I'll give them credit. Whenever they can't get the original actors involved, they got some really good replacements.
Yeah. Now, I think this is probably the best Spider-Man we got in the MCU.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. This is like the best. Like that. His speech with the Wasp was one of the best scenes involving MCU Spidey.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah. But I was kind of upset we didn't see him with the mask very often.
Oh, right, because they got to have that FaceTime, even if it's animated.
Yeah,
well, I think the logic behind that was he had the mask on to hide his secret identity, but it's kind of pointless if you're in a world filled with zombies and they're not going to care.
But he hardly wears the mask in the movies. I was kind of hoping to at least actually see him as Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and
so even zombie Spider-Man wore the mask. He had no reason to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I think in the original comic
he did
line,
say it was because he couldn't look himself in the face and all that. But I was like, still,
and everyone was like, "God damn it, Peter, shut the hell up!"
Oh yeah, all those other zombies hated zombie Spider-Man because they consider him whiny. That's a sad.
Yeah, but I've eaten my family. Grow a set and shut up, kid.
Now, another thing I did wish they stretched on more was the zombie Captain America versus Winter Soldier fight.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah, I liked it, but I wish there was more to it because, like I said, it was a fight. It should have been more heartbreaking, in my opinion.
I can see
30-minute time window, dude.
Yeah, no, but like I said, that's a fight Bucky probably wasn't expecting in his life, and you think that would have been something they would have touched on more.
Mm.
Yeah, we can't touch on that. We've got to make a bunch of weird references and make a bunch of cringy jokes.
Yep.
No, I do think his line when he defeated Zombie Cap was pretty decent. The end of the line one.
This is actually a train reference and the reference to the fact that that's what they said to each other in First Avenger.
Oh yeah,
that's what I think
with you until the end of the line.
Yeah, I think that was a decent line to send off his former friend.
Mm-hmm.
But
and then they ruined it with the Hans Sanitizer joke afterwards.
Yeah. Also, I was very upset they couldn't get Vulture as a zombie in this, so him and Falcon kind of be aerial zombies.
Hmm.
That would
was
have been cool because that was in the comics as well. A bunch of winged superheroes and villains actually have like a flock in it.
That is one thing I definitely want to bring up is that unfortunately we don't get any real Spider-Man centric episodes in this season
because Sony still owns the rights. There was going to be one called "What If Spider-Man Became a Spider," and they said it was going to be too dark. And I can up and say, but the '90s did it.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? It's kind of weird that when they advertised Marvel What If, they often showed an image of Spider-Man wearing Doctor Strange's cape.
And that only happened the one time.
Yes, in this episode of all things. So, and they also
that's actually a reference to a What If comic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was actually What If Spider-Man stayed a wrestler? The cape was part of his costume.
Oh wow, okay. Still kind of weird because again, they're even going out of their way to make a pop figure of that Spider Supreme version of him.
That's also the Marvel Legends figure of him too.
So it's like super weird that they put so much attention on this one version of Spider-Man that technically doesn't really exist.
And he doesn't even wear the mask when he's wearing the cape.
Right. So it's like, what the hell?
What if we had merchandise?
Then again, like I said, Zombie Captain America is the most famous right now. He was only in for 5 minutes.
Right. And then the last thing I didn't like about this series is that it felt like it didn't really have a real ending. It's like, I guess technically having Black Panther, Ant-Man, and Spider-Man escape on that jet with the Hulk seemingly kind of not really sacrificing his life to fight the Scarlet Witch. I guess that was supposed to be the climax, but didn't really feel climactic because we never got a resolution to whether.
Yeah, and the last episode never really touched on it because the zombies we seen they said are from another universe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because you see Zombie Captain America and Falcon, the ones that were killed in a brief moment there.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
you blink and you'll miss it, but you do see Cap leading the charge, which I like to believe is a reference. The way they come out of the sky and towards the screen, I like to believe it's a reference to the last page of Marvel Zombies where they go, "It's dinner time, boys."
Yeah, when they had the Galactus powers.
Yeah, I like to think it's a reference to that. And if it is, then that was kind of sweet actually.
Okay. But yeah, other than once that that ends, then we get ourselves another sort of cliffhanger ending that shows zombie Thanos. And so from that point on, it's like, okay, so is this universe fucked or what?
Yeah, now that was something in the comics I've always wanted to see. Where were the Infinity Stones, the Tesseract, all these powerful objects in the Marvel Zombies universe?
Because it's kind of like, so you're trying to tell me that fucking Thanos can fight off the Hulk with just one Infinity Gem, yet loses to a bunch of mindless zombies when he's got 5 of the bloody things.
Right, and you think his skin would be hard enough for
Hulk to avoid the bites.
Yeah.
It's like all I can hear is Deadpool going, "Wow, that's just lazy writing."
Unless Zombie Hank Pym did what everyone wanted Ant-Man to do in Endgame and kind of just went up there.
Michael Douglas is the most dangerous man in the multiverse.
Project Thanos finally happened. So, any last words on the Marvel Zombies episode?
I liked it, but they really need to stop it with the jokes.
I think it was fun. It was a decent adaptation of the comics for what they could do. But I agree with James. The jokes they should have been more dark humor. Mm-hmm. I think Ant-Man did better dark humor than the other characters did.
Okay.
I wish I missed the old man chewing me up.
Let's see. Moving on.
Look out! Yes. There's a man here. You're thinking, oh, for God's sake! For God's sake!
I said, at least it works. At least it works for him, especially since they do the dark humor. Since that is dark humor that would be in Marvel Zombies.
Yeah.
He's the only one that let slide though. Everyone else was just no.
All right. So moving on, we have the Tony and Killmonger episode. This one. Go ahead. Yeah. Well, I'll just say that this one had a very intriguing premise, but I feel like it kind of just sort of fell flat by the midway point once they removed Tony out of the equation. And then once again, this is an episode that had no real ending, so it kind of fell flat on its face for me personally. As intriguing as it was, it's like the opposite of the. It was the opposite of the evil Doctor Strange episode, where I didn't care at the beginning, but then really cared by the end. Here, I really cared, but then it's like, by the end of the episode.
Now, I'm gonna be honest. People are gonna disagree with me. I did not like Killmonger. I did not. Because honestly, he felt like they wanted a Magneto-like character since they couldn't get the rights to Magneto. But he just seemed so annoying with his goal. It made no sense. I felt like he would have hated Wakanda more than anything else.
I mean, I thought that was it. He hated Wakanda, but he's actually trying to play both sides. Like he wants to. Oh, that's the thing. At first, I thought that he was attempting to work on both sides and get them to destroy each other. But
See,
then
that would have worked in my.
I thought they were going for that, but then it didn't. So I was like, what is his plan actually? In the original movie for Black Panther, I personally enjoyed Killmonger a lot. I
enjoyed his performance. I did not care for the character's goal.
Okay, for me, it's like I liked his goal. I liked the performance. I liked his reasoning, his motivations for doing that. He definitely hated Wakanda, and so he wants to sort of, as revenge, steal Wakanda away from the people that robbed him of his potential, his and other people's potential happy lives. But yeah, so I personally enjoyed Killmonger for most of this episode because I feel like a lot of what made him great in the movie translated here as well. But then again, the plot sort of falls apart by the end, and it's like, what exactly are you doing, man?
Now, I will say, I think this series did Killmonger a lot better for me than the actual movie. Because, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Black Panther movie.
All right.
But one thing I did not care for, because when I saw the previous fest, I thought it was going to be Iron Man versus Killmonger. I thought it was going to be Killmonger takes control of Wakanda, and Iron Man is the one that kind of fights against him. This would be a different version of Iron Man where he didn't suffer the trauma that Tony Stark went through.
Yeah, again, great idea.
Yeah, but that's not what we got.
No.
Which is sad, and I knew that what a plot was coming a mile away. And then I honestly didn't finish the episode. I ended up reading the rest of the premise later on. It's just.
Well, essentially, Killmonger takes over Wakanda, and then later on, T'Challa dies, Tony Stark dies.
Yeah, I saw that part.
Rhodey dies.
I stopped watching after Rhodey died because then I was seeing it as either there's going to be motivation for Tony Stark to go after him, or Tony's going to die. And
Tony died. So eventually, we're left with Pepper Potts and T'Challa's sister, and both of them, it's implied that both of them are going to expose Killmonger for who he is and eventually get rid of him. But it's sort of concluded at the beginning of the 2-part finale for this season, but that's no excuse, in my opinion, not to have a proper ending for the episode you're actually trying to build up towards.
Yeah, I say that 2-part is when I started to like, I actually liked how they did Killmonger. I'll explain when we get to that part.
Oh, sure, yeah. Definitely. But I guess so like I mentioned, I do appreciate that they're trying to go for something different with each story. Evil Doctor Strange is, a cosmic tragedy. T'Challa Star-Lord is a sci-fi heist film. The last one was, a zombie survival story. And this one is a military drama. And I appreciate their ideas. It just didn't do it for me personally.
Yeah. Go ahead, James.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I said earlier that there is no bad episode. I stand by my statement, but I will say this is the one episode where I looked at the premise. Again, it's probably because I haven't seen Black Panther as a movie, but it's just I didn't see what these two characters had in common, and it's like, did you just throw, kind of like with T'Challa Star, did you just throw two ideas together and say, hey, this could work?
Yep.
Possibly, I guess.
Everything for me, just like it feels like everything just lined up a bit too perfectly, if that makes sense.
I don't know.
Like, as his plan was going forward, it's just like, because normally a plan has like some faults or some setbacks, but this one, it's just like, to me, it's like the stars align a bit too conveniently for some of this.
Yeah. Now, like I said, this missed out on a lot of opportunities because in this scenario, Iron Man would still be okay with making weapons. So I'd imagine he'd make like a mix of the Hulkbuster and the War Machine to fight against the Killmonger Black Panther, which would have been really cool to see. But again, we didn't get that.
True. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I don't have much to say about this one episode. So if you guys had anything else you wanted to bring up, so
I think Killmonger pulled off Vegeta look nicely.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, why is he dressed like Vegeta?
He says he's a fan of anime. He's a weeb.
Like, I was just staring at his costume, going like, "Does Toriyama know about this shit?"
And the funny thing is, when you brought that up on social media, I did mention to you that a lot of people picked up on the similarities and have already made like tons of fan art around that.
I'm waiting versus Killmonger now.
Can you repeat that again? You were sort of glitching.
I was like, I'm now waiting for the inevitable death battle episode of Vegeta versus Killmonger. It'll last about 20 seconds, but you know.
And one of those fan bases is going to be pissed.
Oh, let's face it, it'll make a reason why Killmonger wins.
Let's see.
It's just like, how did you win? Vibranium. That's your answer for everything.
I will say it's great to see Ulysses Claw again from not just.
I will admit I was happy to see him because I was upset they didn't give him a bigger role in the Black Panther movie.
Yeah, no, it seemed like they were building him up in the Age of Ultron movie, but then he just comes back for Black Panther and did nothing.
Oh wow, Marvel never does that.
I've only ever seen him in one film. So.
What did Andy Serkis come back to voice him?
I think it was. I'd have to double check it. Actually, I'll look at it. I'll look it up now if you want.
Oh yeah, sure, please. Because if it was Andy Serkis, it's like I love that actor to death. So it's like it's always great to see him.
That reminds me. I'm curious if the voice actor for Tony Stark in this is the same from Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
No, I don't think it is. Eric. I don't think it is Eric Loomis.
I would have gotten him. He does his voice is the closest to Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, super! Yeah,
yes. Yeah, it is. I looked it up. It is Andy Serkis.
Nice. Okay. Nice. That's the funny thing with that actor who played EMH Iron Man. He was kind of like the go-to guy for a while to play Iron Man in various media. I think he might have gotten his start doing Iron Man's voice in the video game tie-in to Iron Man from Sega.
Yeah,
when Marvel made video games that were a part of the movies, then they stopped doing that Then they stopped doing that.
I mean, why? Go ahead.
No, it's not a case of Marvel stopped making the games. Just the mouse told them to stop. We didn't make this, but we stopped making us money. I can't do a decent Mickey Mouse impression.
Why spend money when we could spend jack shit on a mobile tie-in?
Okay, that's actually pretty fucking.
That was a lot better than yours, James. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. I doffed my topper. It's just like, why get people like Sega and Capcom to make video games? We can have Square Enix and Eidos Montreal make Marvel's Avengers. Oh.
Bum, bum,
oh.
Bum. Wow.
And they pick up the phone. Hey, Sega, can we talk? Because Dad Ventures was fucking shite.
And now I bet you Capcom isn't taking their calls anymore after Infinite.
Better yet, they'll say, I'm going to tell you what you told me. Go fuck yourself. Yes, that was an X-Men reference.
That was the best X-Men reference.
But dude, is it a JoJo reference?
On the internet, everything's a JoJo reference.
Dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's an okay episode, but I just stared at the premise and I was to pull a ham from Toy Story. I don't get it.
Yeah. And like I said, I like Killmonger. I like Killmonger, but I didn't like his goals. And like I said, I just didn't really care for him in this one. I do really like him in the final episode, though.
Yes. So.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Party Thor episode.
Yes.
Every party needs a pooper. That's why they invited you. Party pooper. Party pooper.
Lord Guru.
Why are you still here?
This one is what Thor Ragnarok wanted to be.
Oh yeah, so it's kind of a little weird. So the premise behind this one is that Thor never grew up with having Loki as a brother, because Odin wasn't a huge asshole. So without Loki there to sort of like to constantly to humble Thor, to show an example to Thor to who not to become, sort of become the antithesis to him. Thor never grew up having that sort of becoming the sort of positive role model, the virtuous positive role model that he ended up sort of becoming. And I say that because as the MCU progressed, they definitely leaned more and more into having a comedic version of Thor, essentially depicting him as
sad.
Yeah, I mean, especially because I'm currently revisiting Marvel's Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and I love their stoic take on that version of Thor. So
you should also read Thor God Butcher. That's a great comic.
Thank you. So it's like, Thor was already sort of like a party frat boy sort of character, so he isn't really all that different in this episode.
I'd say this one's more mythologically accurate Thor, where he's more of the partier, he's a glutton, he drinks nonstop.
I mean, I will say they took his frat boy attitude and just like increased it to like they just amped it up to 11. And so,
I also like the party.
I also like the design of his armor in this, the gold look.
Oh yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
But
also he does have a beard.
He doesn't. Yeah. Oh yeah, he doesn't. So I will say this is a really fun episode. This was a really fun episode for me because it kind of takes that college house party typical sort of plot line you'd see in a lot of teenage or college movies from like the early 2000s, where it's like the parents are out, so it's time to host a party. Uh-oh, my parents are coming back early. We gotta fix everything, guys.
Yeah. Now, reason I like this is because, it's not like Thor Ragnarok. We had two previous films where Thor wasn't this joke of a character. He was very serious, and then some reason everything's all silly.
I assume that was because serious Thor was just not connecting with a lot of people.
Which is sad because to me that's Thor.
I mean, well, here's the thing. Yeah. Thor the Dark World was is currently still one of my least favorite MCU movies, just because of how boring it was for me. And I guess that was like the majority of opinion as well. So it's like, of all the early MCU movies, not a lot of people were all that hyped, all that crazy about Thor 1 and 2. So I'm assuming that's why they got Taika Waititi in to sort of do his magic and make
what aggravated me is
what it was.
Is that ruined two of my favorite stories, which is Planet Hulk and Thor Ragnarok.
Sure,
making them more comedic. That's the upsetting part. And the sad thing is, I bring this up to people talking about the comics. They call me a gatekeeper and things like that. When I don't understand. I'm saying I just wanted this to be a serious story, like the stuff they took.
That's perfectly reasonable.
So what you're saying is they're upset with you for wanting a story or a movie based on a story to actually follow the script of the story.
Right.
So if I took one of these people's favorite shows, like Steven Universe, and remade it into something like the Batman Who Laughs,
you turn it into Tenchi Muyo.
If I take Steven Universe and turn it into the Batman Who Laughs, I'll just say, "Oh, stop being a gatekeeper." Seriously.
Exactly. Now, this, though, I think was a great way to make Thor more comedic. Because, like I said, he didn't have a previous example. He was serious or anything. This more fits into an alternate reality.
This was the most Dom Fury depiction of Thor I've ever seen.
This is Dom. Your character Dom. If he had the muscle to back up his attitude,
and the lack of brain cells.
And of course, I love the fact Thor almost destroys the Earth through partying.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
and that S.H.I.E.L.D. actually gets involved with
it. In this scenario, S.H.I.E.L.D. are the neighbors who complain about the noise.
Right. And as James mentioned this, we actually got a comic accurate Maria Hill.
Oh yeah, because Maria Hill in the films has been very sort of laid back, making jokes, whereas the Maria Hill I'm familiar with is a complete psycho bitch, angry, screaming at people, and wants to throw all superheroes in the pen during the Civil War arc in the comics. It's just like, oh, there you are, Maria. Like, I know we keep plugging this show, but EMH has the most comic accurate Maria Hill ever.
Super.
And also it has something. It has like the best ships of couples I've ever seen, which is Howard the Duck and the annoying girl from the Thor movies,
Played by Kat Dennings.
I love Kat Dennings.
Well, look who came crawling back, Mrs. the Duck. I love that his last name's the Duck.
All I'm saying is if they make another Ninja Turtles live action movie, you get fucking Kat Dennings as April O'Neil. I'm just saying.
Ooh.
That is good. That would be good.
Yellow jumpsuit, every 80s April O'Neil with the yellow jumpsuit and everything.
I can see that. Hell, I can.
I'm not saying I have a thing. I'm not saying I like to picture Kat Dennings in a yellow jumpsuit. I am not saying that.
He is saying that. And I'm
I
not saying
Don't worry, James. We'll say it for you.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I ship her with Howard the Duck, but if they make that canon in the movies, I'd support it.
Let's see.
All I'm saying is do not look for those two on a Google image search.
You already know Rule 34 is all over that.
How come What If does more with Howard the Duck than the actual movies?
It's just, you can imagine the thought process, like, oh wow, we've paired these two characters together. I wonder how the inner and there's porn of it.
Let's see. So on top of like Howard the Duck, we've also got like cameos from Nebula, Valkyrie, Drax,
Skrulls.
Rocket, Skrulls, Yondu, Mantis.
I also like Frost Giant Loki. I also like his design.
It was really nice to see this like very different take on him that makes complete perfect sense in a perfect world where he didn't get fucked over by Odin.
Yeah. And also, again, this feels more accurate to myth, where he comes off more jokey towards everyone.
True, yeah, and he's still a mischief maker.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And of course, the best part of it is Thor versus Captain Marvel.
That was surprisingly really fun to watch.
Yeah, I was worried that she was going to easily beat Thor, but no, they actually made them with her even.
Mm-hmm. And of course,
the people of this planet have a name for people like you. Party pooper. Haha, yes.
I do wonder if.
Although, let's be honest. If the internet wrote that script, he would have said something like this: "The internet has a 3-word reply for women like you. Be gone, thoughts."
Also, Chris Hemsworth was clearly having fun in this role.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's ultimately why they ended up going with frat boy Thor in the MCU movies, is because to quote what my friend Dylan once suggested, they were probably trying to play more to his strengths as an actor. And given that Chris Hemsworth has a very likable persona when he's that sort of depicted that way, I suppose they kind of wrote Thor around his likability as an actor.
Yeah, that makes sense, but like I said, I much prefer the serious story, except it works here because, like I said, it has a reason why he's not serious and all that.
True. As for Captain Marvel's involvement, so like she's involved in this, she has a major role in 2 of these episodes, and in each one she gets her ass kicked. So I'm wondering if this is sort of like a not so subtle FU by the people writing the series who did not like the character or found the character to be too boring based on the movie.
Kevin Feige went to them going, you guys need to add Captain Marvel. I was like, can we do what we want? Just add her. Okay.
Fine. We're gonna get
her beaten and killed off, right? Exactly.
Although possibly it could be a case that when you really think about it, with how quote unquote powerful the character is based on all the IGN articles, like a lot of these scenarios could just be solved by just get Captain Marvel. If they show her unable to solve the problem, then it kind of ups the stakes, because they could easily just go, every single problem, just press the pager, there we go, done.
Right. Which they do bring up the pager quite a few times in this anthology series, because now that we know that is something that Nick Fury has had this entire time, I guess it would make sense that he would sort of whip it out and just call upon Captain Marvel.
Yeah, kind of wish they asked him why didn't he use it earlier.
What about the pager? He said he whip it out and call on Captain Marvel, but what about the pager?
Boom phrasing. I walked into that one.
Yes, you did.
I'm upset they didn't do an episode where Coulson asked, why didn't you use that beforehand instead of the Avengers?
And also,
Now,
I mentioned this on Facebook, like during the whole zombie episode. Like, yeah, why don't you just call her in? Seriously.
That's right. Yeah. So I remember I responded to you with that. My sort of theory was that either they didn't want to rely too much on Captain Marvel for so many of these episodes, or maybe off screen, like in universe, like Nick Fury was killed off screen before he could call her.
My theory was zombie Captain Marvel would become way more likable than regular Captain Marvel, and they were worried they'd want her canon. Yeah. Then one thing I do want to say about this episode is that the humor works a lot better
Because it's more of a goofy tone. So
that's exactly.
It's consistent.
It's so jarring with it's jarring with the other episodes because, like with the assassination episode and the zombies episode, they clearly wanted to go with a darker theme in mind. But when you're constantly making jokes about Thor's lavender hair or American reality TV shows, it's like, do you want this to be serious or not?
Yeah. No, there was one joke I absolutely loved in this episode was when I forgot her name, Thor's girlfriend just went, Thor, as in the Norse god of thunder. I don't know anything about horse gods, but someone made a meme showing Loki. He says, I know about horse gods.
Oh my.
Although that could also be a reference to Beta Ray Bill when you think about it.
Oh, that's true. God, I'm scared what they do to him in the movies.
Well, I don't think he's even shown up, has he?
No.
They referenced him.
Oh,
like
they did?
Stormbreaker, that's one.
Yeah, I stared at that and thought, so you won't use the guy, but you'll use his weapon. That's bullshit.
You won't use one of the best Thor characters, but you'll use the weapon.
No, so you see, talking raccoons and tree men,
those are okay, but
horse Thor, no.
We can't make a toy off that.
Yeah.
Despite the fact they technically have several times.
So, any last thoughts on this before we go into the 2-part finale?
Go ahead.
It was enjoyable. It's not an episode I think I'll come running back to, but it's for the least part. It kind of like after some of the several dark episodes, it did feel like a nice little bit of fresh air, to sort of lighten
I do agree. It's one of those episodes you add to a dark series to kind of give the audience a break.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Especially, given how really dark the next episode is.
This is kind of a niche reference, so I'll explain it as I go. It's like the scene when Bambi's mum gets killed is most of the episodes, but then the shot afterwards with all this, the happy sounds and the animals chirping, that's this episode.
I guess so. So, going on to the 2-part finale, where the first episode focuses on a universe in which Ultron wins and takes over the universe, and which leads to him eventually learning of the existence of both the Watcher and the multiverse, which forces the Watcher to break his rule in the finale to where he selects a bunch of characters from all these previous episodes that we've watched and have,
aka the Exiles from the comics. But again, that wasn't the name's not used in the movie, so they couldn't call them the Exiles.
Right, and so we have the non-Exiles to go up against superpowered Ultron for the fate of the multiverse.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do love is that in this this just shows that Thanos was never a threat, and that Vision really was underthinking how to stop him.
Fascinating.
Just cuts him in two.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those things where it's like in my opinion, I feel like this is one of those things where it's like they were really strapped for time or budget, and they didn't want to depict an actual fight between Vision and Thanos, so they just had him laser him in half. Although I think a better way would have been just to sort of have them like confront each other, and then we cut to a shot of the aftermath, showing the aftermath of the battle.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Yeah, I agree with that.
One thing this did show that Thanos was really underusing the Infinity Stones in the movie.
Yes.
Of course.
Because this is more accurate to what the Infinity Stones would do in the comics.
But remember...
It's kind of like... It's like we said earlier.
Uh-huh.
It's like how we said earlier that this is like comic book accurate Ultron. So it's kind of like what happens when a comic book accurate villain comes face to face with a movie depiction of a villain. The comic book fucking takes him out in 3 seconds.
Yeah, although I do want to say that, for MCU Thanos, his goal was never to take over the universe. He just simply wanted to commit genocide on the universal scale.
Which what Ultron wanted to do. And he didn't snap his fingers. He just wouldn't do it himself.
Right. When it came to to Ultron, I guess he personally wanted to see fit, or he wanted to see it personally that everyone is wiped out.
Yeah.
Not half.
I love
everyone.
Yeah, and I love Ultron's design in this.
Oh, it's super badass.
Yeah, and again, like James here said, it's very accurate to how he looked in the Age of Ultron comics with the 4 eyes and all that.
Also, did give me Anarch King vibes as well from the bulk of the armor and the helmet scape.
Those don't know that's a project I'm working on.
Oh, sorry, was I not supposed to say that?
No, just no one knows anything. It's just not.
Oh,
I don't mention much about that on here.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
No, I just didn't mention much on Andre's channel about it.
Right.
Oh, this episode's brought to you by. Sorry.
Yeah, and one thing that did kind of bother me because I'm a comic nerd is that Ultron shouldn't be able to use the Soul Stone because he's a robot.
Yeah, they made a huge point about that in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. That you couldn't use it. That could be the point of.
This should have been the story to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Although that could be the argument of why he was put in the Envisioned synthetic body, so that might be the way to get around that.
I guess that's true. He could be, because the Soul could consider him a living entity then.
Although, speaking of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, did anyone else feel like when he becomes what I think the internet is calling Infinite Ultron, when he gets this fabulous red flowing cape, did anyone else think that was a reference to Sigma from the Mega Man X series?
Yeah. I mean, he like I said, has somewhat of like a face on his chest now that I'm looking at it.
And like I said, this should have been the storyline to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, I love that Natasha and Hawkeye, the powerless Avengers, are the survivors.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If anything, I feel like this at least like the first half of this 2-part finale, it emphasizes just what makes the MCU versions of Black Widow and Hawkeye so compelling as characters, and why they are important. A lot of people would like to make fun of them because they have no powers, so it's like, oh, what are they going to do? But I think that it's because they have no powers, that's what makes them the most relatable for audiences. And the fact that they have no powers, yet stand up in the face of beings like Thanos and Loki and Ultron, is something that I find to be truly inspiring. In a way, they're kind of like the Batman of the Avengers.
Yeah. And one thing I really love is just the fact that Hawkeye basically told Natasha to stop with the jokes.
Oh yeah, God, my will to live meter is running on empty. It's kind of the audience, like, enough with the jokes already.
True. And they've, like, the MCU versions of Black Widow and Hawkeye, they've always had amazing chemistry together. And I think they really sold it very well in this episode. And so when Hawkeye eventually just gives up, but at the same time still goes out with a bang, literally, it is a rare, very heart-wrenching moment for Black Widow. So that was a big highlight for me.
But the best part of that episode is Watcher versus Ultron.
Yeah, I love the oh shit moment Ultron had. The moment, no, not Ultron, that the Watcher had. The moment Ultron looks at him, he's like, "I see you," and Watcher's like, "Wait a minute, you're not supposed to do that."
Yeah, see, that's how you show how powerful a villain is.
They become self-aware.
Yeah, when it comes to. Basically, when he realizes he's in someone else's story.
Right.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, no,
and the way he reacts by closing, it's like someone's watching porn. They quickly close the browser when someone comes in, just wipes it away.
And then throughout the episode, before the actual fight between the Watcher, he's not hearing Ultron saying he's gonna find him.
Right.
Oh yeah, I noticed that as well.
But
And then they're like other. What was it like? I forgot if it was like this. I think it was this episode, the first half, where they start fighting, and they like every single punch they end up in another multiverse.
Oh yeah, that was this episode, yes, and that was the second half of the episode.
Ah, okay, yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, like I said, this one really made Ultron feel like a big event villain should feel.
Oh, super, yeah.
Yeah, that, and also you get some nods to a Galactus when he pretty much ate that galaxy.
Oh, right, that was a crazy shot there.
That was fucking badass.
Yeah. That was like Gurren Lagann levels of like insanity in terms of like universal threats.
Yeah. Also, Ultra has some really good dialogue in this. When Watcher was saying that this is impossible, he appears right behind him saying anything's possible in the multiverse.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I will say
this is more. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, with after like Super Ultron, or is there a name for this version of Ultron?
I think I've seen
Infinite Ultron.
I've seen people say Infinite Ultron.
Okay, so I guess like after seeing this version of Infinite Ultron, I will say like the next main bad guy for the MCU, which spoiler alert is Kang the Conqueror. He's got some big shoes. He's got some big shoes to fill to match up to the level.
Fair, if they make them equal, that makes sense to the comics since they were kind of arch enemies.
That is true, yeah. Especially the what was it in the Avengers? I think it was called the Heroic Age storyline. It involved Ultron and King the Conqueror like butting heads in a time war that was threatening the very existence of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, which led to the events of Secret Wars a couple of years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like I said, with dialogue in this, both Ultron and the Watcher had great dialogue against each other during the fight, where Ultron was saying all that pain and suffering, and all you do was watch. And Watcher going, I cannot use my will on others, and like it's just a great fight, great dialogue. I also love the fact that Watcher's battle form looks like his outfit from the comics.
Yeah, it's cool.
I figured that.
I also
had to be a reference.
I like to think the "and all you do is watch" is almost like a tongue-in-cheek joke at the audience.
Oh, definitely, especially like one of like Black Widow's final lines to the Watcher. It's like, "What? Do you guys have some pop? Do you have some popcorn while you watch all of us die?" And I saw this one meme where like it was like the picture, like the monkey meme, just like nervously looking away.
Yeah.
Like this is all of us with our snacks and whatever watching this show. It's like, oh.
No, this episode did break a rule of the Infinity Stones that even the Loki series pointed out, is that the Infinity Stones cannot work outside their own universe.
Yeah, if he's listening,
I kind of let slide because in the next episode he mentions that the Infinity Stones are also unique in each universe, and maybe his is the most powerful.
I suppose in the Loki series, the Infinity Stones don't exist when they're in like the TVA area, which is like the universe between universes. Yeah,
but I still think that What If isn't necessarily part of the MCU multiverse. I think it's still its own thing.
Sure.
I will. If he's listening to the podcast, I will say that reveal did upset my friend Bradley because he's like, "No, you can't use the Infinity Gems outside of their universe." And I'm like, "Well, they did." And he was like, "Well, that's
I was hoping it would be like, since Ultron is a being that's constantly evolving, he started to do this with the Infinity Stones.
You know, it's also possible that Loki and What If were done at the same time, and so. It was they didn't really make a cohesive reason. Right, they didn't exchange notes, perhaps.
Because like I said, they never explained how the Watcher was born if the multiverse didn't exist before Loki.
Right, this is just one of those like very, very small details where it's like, don't think about it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hey, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We got Armin Zola back.
Oh yeah, that was surprising that we actually get to see him again, considering I did not like what they did to him in the movies.
Yeah.
I also like that they got a reference to comic book Armin Zola.
Yeah,
where,
at the end there.
yeah, where he takes over the Vision body. He steals the Vision body away from Ultron, and essentially puts his face on Vision's chest, akin to his robot body in the comics.
Though I wish they zoomed into his face a bit more, so it looks more like in the comics, and not show the whole head on his chest.
True, yeah, but I suppose they want to recreate that appearance from Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Now, one thing I did want to mention here is, well, since we're on part 2, is that we got introduced to a character that never got their episode in this season.
Right, that was weird.
Because originally it was supposed to be 10 episodes, but one got pulled because of, the bug going around.
But but what I thought was funny was we got to see this new Gamora who teams up with a new version of Tony Stark, and they killed Thanos together. I kind of wish they over exaggerate where Tony told her don't go with that man Gamora, not after that awesome badass Maverick thing you did last time. Not clarifying what you did.
Yeah, and there's also the first Tony Stark not to be killed in this series.
Yeah,
it's true. Kind of very strange that they decided to go with a random character that never got her own episode over Zombie Universe Spider-Man.
Yeah, I wanted Spider-Man. I would have been a cool one.
Yeah, I suppose.
And give him the Doctor Strange cape to have him, look like the promotional stuff.
Better yet, have him carry a bunch of weapons from the surviving heroes.
Oh, that'd be cool. He has the Captain America shield and Black Panther's claw.
Right.
Because the zombie universe was the only one not to get a resolution.
Yeah, which stinks. Or the weapon they use is the zombie Thanos Infinity Gauntlet. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. They never said. One idea Watcher never thought of was getting Infinity Stones from another universe to fight against Ultron, or getting 1,000 Infinity Stones from multiple universes.
Maybe
time and a budget.
Yeah, or maybe it would have been too dangerous. Who knows?
Or they did want it to be where only Ultron's Infinity Stones were the only ones unique enough to work in other universes.
Or maybe it's kind of I do find it funny that the heroes that the Watcher puts together are just so happen to be, for the majority of them, heroes from all these random what if universes that we just watched. And he says, I chose you guys because you're the best possible team in this whole multiverse. And I'm like, really? Are they really the best choices to face off against Ultron?
Look, I only binged 5 universes this week. You're the only one I saw.
I put you together as a team of the best in the multiverse, and because my Netflix subscription ran out.
Oh, there was another thing I wanted to mention about the previous episode between the fight between Captain Marvel and Ultron.
Yeah,
that was the only time the line where they said "You'll never win" and the villain says, "But I already have," actually worked.
Yeah. Although I did like that cringy Terminator reference, though.
Which one was that?
She called Ultron Skynet.
She goes, "Listen, Skynet, I've seen a movie about a killer robot, and I didn't think it needed a sequel either."
Oh, I love that line because it's where I guess where she lives. Wait, I forgot. Who said that line?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Right. She's from the 90s, and so by the time she left Earth, she never got to see Terminator 2 happen.
So basically, she dated herself badly.
Right.
There's several bloody sequels now.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so
also,
she's completely unaware of the fact that there were any sequels because that's when she already left Earth.
Yeah. Also, another. How did you know Ultron himself was an actual robot? Because when you look closely, he just looks like a guy in a suit.
Yeah. Again, I think it was more about I think it's just the emphasis was put a reference in rather than actually making sense.
No, they said let's make her do a pop culture reference, so when they kill her, no one will feel sad.
Yeah, I can get behind that idea.
Again, having her get her ass kicked. I feel like this was again another FU towards the character.
Yeah, although to be fair, I'm not arguing with that point, but it's kind of like if she did just save the day, it would render the finale a bit pointless.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Also,
and it's that idea that you sorry to interrupt you, Will, but this is like that thing that you brought up again, James, where it's like this was one of those things where if you establish that she's a big, strong character, so once you take her out of the picture, it's there to establish that the threat is even much grander than previously imagined.
Aye.
Yeah. So what was that, Will?
Yeah, I was gonna say that episode 2 also showed that Thor is clearly not a Norse god but British because he called a bar a pub.
I noticed that.
And I couldn't help but think, why did the Norse worship a man that sounded nothing like them?
If we think about it, a lot of gods, in media, a lot of gods from various cultures
are British for some reason.
Are always, British, always English or whatever.
I understand because Norse gods would be things like Swedish, and that's not a pretty accent.
What are you talking about?
I'm terribly sorry that we have the best actors in the world, guys. Seriously.
That is true.
But I also love Thor's reaction when Watcher recruited him.
What was
Screaming
that?
like a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Thor was ignoring until Watcher just picked him up.
It's like, I'm done with your shit. Come here.
And why is he the best choice? Watcher?
Well, to be fair, he beat Captain Marvel, who Ultron beat. So by his logic, they're even.
But remember,
that's because like Thor, he also hates party poopers.
But remember, according to Captain Marvel, she was holding back.
Yeah. Okay. Just like I'm holding back. Just like I'm
clearly,
holding back.
Captain Marvel was holding back. I totally was. I wasn't. I didn't lose like a punk. No. I
just as I'm holding back the urge to see her shitty, pretentious film.
Let's see, and I guess for like the final battle between all of them. Well, I do like the interactions between several of the selected heroes. I like the Captain Carter's reaction where she's like, "Oh, so you've met another version of me? Actually, in my universe, Steve Rogers became Captain America," and her reaction was like something along the lines of, "Oh, I like to see that."
But the internet made it. Oh, that makes me horny.
Of course.
I've seen meme images sort of highlighting that, which makes me laugh.
Yeah. And of course, you get the best battle cry from Thor.
Viva Las Vegas!
I must admit, I've never heard that battle cry before.
No, and now I want to make it a thing.
Yes.
It's like next time if I ever get the chance to meet up with Nick and Laura in Vegas, that's gonna be my battle cry.
Nice.
And also, when you watch this, you gotta wonder, why didn't he just send in Doctor Strange? Everyone else is kind of unneeded.
You gotta have the crossover, dude.
Right.
True.
Marketing.
I mean, Ultron was about to destroy that whole universe. Then Doctor Strange ate it.
Yeah.
This is the part where you mentioned that you enjoyed Killmonger a lot in this particular in this finale.
Well, no, I do think he's more interesting here because he's treated as an actual villain.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because that was something I didn't like in the movie where he wasn't really treated as a villain, especially by fans.
Oh yeah, he's definitely going for that like tragic the tragic sympathetic villain route.
Yeah, no, but this one he felt more like a comic book villain.
Uh-huh.
He was in it for himself the whole time.
True, yeah, it was definitely there for selfish reasons and like wanted to take over the world. Well, he did want to take over the universe, but he wanted to, in a way, in his mind, make it better.
Yeah, and of course, I did also that was interesting. He did at least offer the rest of the team help for them.
Right. Where it's like it's kind of like one of those things that I think Stan Lee might have said at one point, where to him the best villains are those who believe that they are the heroes in their own story, and that was always like something he used when describing the creation of Magneto. And for Killmonger, it totally makes sense that he thinks he is improving things for everyone, even though he's only making it worse for
Also,
the rest
I
of
like
them.
that we got to see the true form of evil Doctor Strange during this fight, the demon look.
Oh yeah, that was a great design. Oh, I figured because they already created a 3D model for him. They want to make the most out of that asset.
Yeah. And with their eyes, we're never going to see that in a movie.
Probably never.
Yeah, so we're not going to see that, Mephisto, Ghost Rider, any demon in any of the Marvel movies.
I mean, you're paying millions of dollars for Benedict Cumberbatch to give a performance. You're gonna make the most out of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But of course, I did like the real reason why Watcher brought all of them together, including Killmonger.
Oh, because he already predicted that the fight would end in a stalemate that would benefit everybody.
Yeah, and basically causing Doctor Strange to trap Killmonger and Zola in a dome, which makes sense, But both are racist, horrible people that want the Infinity Stone. So might as well put them in the same place.
I do like that. This whole season. Or not this season. This finale gives evil Doctor Strange the chance to redeem himself, and I did like the idea that he's the first person to approach the Watcher, or that the Watcher approaches, because he knows more than anybody what's going on in the multiverse, and so having him have a chance to the chance to redeem himself by saying, like, I wasn't able to save my universe, but I'll certainly take care of this issue to save the rest of the multiverse, I thought was a really nice way to send off for this character, if this is going to be the last we see of him.
And I love what his interaction with the Watcher and the previous episode that led up to this. Watcher saying, "Do you want me to say it?" "Oh yeah, I want to hear you say it."
Oh yes, big time. Let's see. So let's going through my designs here. And designs, my notes. Going through my notes here. Is there anything else left for this finale?
Well,
we could talk about.
Go ahead.
Go on. I was going to say we could talk about the animation style, since we haven't mentioned it yet.
Sure. For the most part, I enjoyed the cell shaded nature of this series. I thought they did a decent job recreating the looks of a lot of these actors. There are certain cases, like with Tony Stark, where I feel like they put too many lines on his face, which makes him look much older than he probably is supposed to look.
Yeah.
And I guess the only other character I thought looked off was Bruce Banner, because at least in terms of the episode where Yellow Jacket kills every Avenger. Is it me, or did it look like they were trying to make Bruce Banner out to look like a combination of Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo?
Yeah, I did get that vibe.
Well, I gotta understand why they did it, but at the same time, probably would have best just to base it off Mark Ruffalo.
Right, and then like every other subsequent appearance from Bruce Banner, I feel like they made a conscious effort to make him look more like Mark Ruffalo after that.
Yeah, one thing I really liked with the animation is that whenever they did like something supernatural, it's 2D to kind of make it look abnormal.
Oh, I did notice that there are certain like 2D effects as well. Like there's occasionally like dust clouds and explosions that are also 2D. But
true, but I mean, like with things like the supernatural monsters and all that, those were done those are done in 2D.
Yeah, I really like that, and it gives the essence that these creatures or these elements are not of this world.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other than that, I like the majority of these new designs. I liked, we mentioned before, Captain Carter, T'Challa Star-Lord, Party Thor,
Infinite Ultron,
the
Marvel Zombies,
even Thanos armored Gamora. What little we saw of her, she looked great.
Like I said, Andres, she had to join that awesome Maverick thing she did.
Right. Yeah, I can't really think of any other. I can't think of any negative critiques.
Oh, the voice actors, acting.
Oh yeah, definitely mentioned that the voice actors were really good. One thing that was that some people have mentioned that there are certain movie actors that weren't really didn't really translate well to voice acting. And one actor that one reviewer had pointed out was the actor who played Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Where it's like he's just sort of like bringing his regular sort of on-screen energy to the role. I thought that it's a very interesting distinction between voice acting and on-camera acting. Where with on-camera acting, you're given the chance to be more subtle because you're letting your physical presence play a part in portraying a character. Whereas with voice acting, you don't get that luxury, so all of your delivery is solely built on, or is solely portrayed through your voice and your voice alone. And unfortunately, with certain actors who go from on-camera actors to voice actors, that's a big weakness that they have. They're just not used to giving that extra oomph to their performance when they're in a recording booth.
Yeah, now definitely the best voices in this were Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury, and The Watcher.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And let's see, and I would say I'm not familiar with the actor who plays the Watcher, but I know Sam Jackson and Benedict Cumberbatch have both had roles, have both had voice acting roles.
Well, yeah, I say Samuel Jackson was in The Incredibles.
Yes, absolutely. He was also Afro Samurai.
Oh yeah, sure. I completely forgot about that.
And Benedict Cumberbatch, he was Smaug in the Hobbit trilogy.
The Grinch.
And the Grinch.
And he also did a radio play I personally enjoy called Cabin Pressure, which is one of the best radio dramas I've ever listened to.
Really?
I highly recommend. If you ever find it, I highly recommend it.
And of course, Chris Hemsworth's Thor. He still sound like Chris Hemsworth, but he did sound like he had fun with it. At least he gave off a lot of energy.
Absolutely, definitely, yeah. And was Peggy Carter voiced by her actress?
Yes, I believe so.
I can look it up if you want.
Oh, absolutely, please do. Thank you. That would be great, because I know, funny enough, I should have mentioned this earlier before when talking about the Captain Carter episode. Peggy Carter...
Yeah, it is her.
Thank you. The character...
Haley Atwell.
Cool. The character of Peggy Carter has certainly gotten a lot of popularity from not just Captain America, the first Avenger, but also the Agent Carter series. And so I was really glad to hear that this actress was able to play return to the role in a very unique way.
That reminds me, they said they want to do a Captain Carter movie, and they said, but what concerns me is in an interview they said they want to make her a hero of our time, and I usually don't trust them when they say things like that about female characters.
Yeah.
Well,
whiny, annoying.
We'll see what happens.
Hopefully, if that's the case, they call her Captain Britain.
And she'll be the leader of Excalibur.
Oof.
Oh yeah. Well,
the Kingsmen.
Hey, there's rumors that the X-Men might be coming to the MCU. So
there's no such rumors. The mutants are coming to the MCU.
X people are coming to the MCU.
X-Force, the gender neutral,
and they're taking on their greatest enemy, white people.
with the help of their allies from south of the border, Latin X.
I ain't fucking touching that.
Andres, don't give them ideas.
Oh god,
that's gonna be the next big Marvel comic.
Well, they kind of already did that. They made a whole comic based on Latino superheroes, and they keep using that awful Latinx
how many
buzzword.
How many Latin superheroes do they have?
And you'd be surprised.
They don't like. I say the only. Well, okay. Well, I phrase that. The only good one I could think of is Robbie Reyes' Ghost Rider.
Well, there's Miles Morales.
Yeah, right. Miles is half.
Yeah.
Their excuse is that but Latinx is actually a very popular term, and then Diego comes up and goes, and then Diego appears and goes, "Hola, can you smell bullshit?"
that reminds me. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I hope that they bring in Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, in What If, just because he was in Agents of Shield.
Right, but then unfortunately nobody cares about Agents of Shield.
They did when he was in it. Then they stopped after he left.
What if people watched Agents of Shield?
Ooh.
They only watched it when he was in it, and then he left, and then people stopped watching.
What if? Damn it! I missed the joke. I lost it. What if? I got it. I remembered again. What if Agents of Shield was relevant?
Oof.
What if Disney realized no one knows who the Eternals are?
So, yeah. Any final thoughts on? Oh, actually, rather than giving our final thoughts, I wanted to do the thing where, like, do you guys happen to have like a ranking for these episodes? Because I put together one.
Oh, sure, I'm down for that.
Okay, so let's have James go first. So, how would you rank these episodes from bottom to top?
I'm going to go the opposite way, I can remember it better by going that way. So I'm going to use a racing analogy. In first place, we'd have, obviously, the Captain Carter episode, because I feel like it was the strongest one out the gate, and it really felt like a proper what-if premise.
Mm-hmm.
Second place would be the Avengers Assassinate episode. Even though I don't like the reveal of who the killer is, I did like the suspense and the build-up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Third place would probably be What If Ultron won, because it's kind of like, yeah, why wasn't the film like this?
Mm-hmm.
Fourth place would be Party Thor, because I thought it was kind of hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth place would be the actual conclusion episode, because I feel like it was good, but it needed to be an hour long, because they're trying to wrap up this entire story arc in just 30 minutes. And it's like, you can't. It just doesn't work for me.
Okay.
And after that, I think all the other episodes are kind of joint last. Not because I hate them or because they're bad. It's just because some of them, the premise either doesn't work or it just didn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I can see that they wanted to do something with the T'Challa Star-Lord episode, but I was just staring at the premise going, I don't see what the connection is. And the Killmonger episode, I don't have the context for the character. Because all I can think of is, why is he dressed like Vegeta? Is there a reason for that?
Sure.
But yeah, but nailing it down to a top three, I'd say, Captain Carter, Assassination, and what did I say third one? Oh shit! I forgot the zombies episode. Fuck. I'd say zombie episode is just after Party Thor, in my opinion. It's the jokes that keep ruining it for me.
Yeah, I'll get that.
Okay,
and what about you, Will?
I'm gonna do the same way he did, from best to worst.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put the first would definitely be Doctor Strange Supreme, which is the evil Doctor Strange episode. Just because that felt more like Doctor Strange than the actual movie, and I was surprised by how it ended, considering it's an MCU project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And of course, the Watcher and Strange interaction there was probably one of the best written scenes in anything I've seen from the Marvel movies.
Awesome.
The second would have to be the two-part final. I'm going to consider it as one.
I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And third would probably be Avengers Assassinated. Fourth, the Marvel Zombies, mainly because I still respect the fact they went with Marvel Zombies despite the limitations they are given. I still think they did some pretty dark features with it, but like James says, the humor did ruin it for me. I'm gonna put Captain Carter and Party Thor alongside each other, because those are decent. Because those felt more like what ifs, the more lighthearted ones.
Okay.
Yep. And as for Killmonger and Black Panther, they're both kind of last because, like I said, they weren't my favorites.
Okay.
The T'Challa one definitely above the Killmonger one, though.
All right. And let's see, for my ranking, number one, Captain Carter, just because I'm a sucker for pulp fiction, superhero, adventure serial entertainment. Number 2 is a combination of the Ultron and final episode, just because I feel like the 2 episodes work hand in hand with each other, work very well with each other, that I can't really imagine them separated. And it was a decent way to finish off this season of What If. Number 3 is the evil Doctor Strange episode. Even though I wasn't feeling it for the first half, it was, again, that ending that really sold the entire premise for me and really tug on at least on my emotional heartstrings. Number 4, T'Challa Star-Lord, because I thought it was a very fun, unique, inventive sci-fi heist film, only condensed into 30 minutes. Number 5, Party Thor, because it was just one big ludicrous superhero take on your party, on your typical party college house party college movie. Number 6 was 6, yeah, 6 is the Avengers Assassinated episode, because I just felt like, as great of an idea as it was, I feel like there were certain things here and there that just didn't really have all the ideas click with me as well. Same goes for the Killmonger episode, just because, again, great ideas, but I feel like they didn't do, the execution wasn't as good as it could have been, especially by the end. And finally, my least favorite being Marvel Zombies, only because of the tonal whiplash, which got really annoying, and much like with the Killmonger episode, it doesn't feel like there's like a proper ending for this story.
Yeah.
So yeah, those have been our personal favorites of the Marvel What Ifs Season 1 episodes. So what are your guys' expectations going forward for the eventual Season 2?
You want to
go first?
James? Sure.
Okay, sure. I mean, bit of an unreasonable thing to ask, I know, but can we get a Season 2 that kind of focuses more on storylines from the comics? I mean, I understand they have to do MCU-related material. You know, I understand. I get the reasoning for why, but it's kind of like, I mean, you have all these franchises now. You could probably do some stories involving the Fantastic Four or Deadpool or Wolverine. It's just, I mean, you had your little MCU moment, but can we like have some? Could I have some more comic book related storylines? Like, I would like to see an adaptation of Man Spider, or What If Spider-Man or Mary Jane didn't get married, or just storylines that don't fit into a niche MCU envelope, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see some more stories with Spider-Man involved, because I feel like his one appearance, I mean, I think I know the reason for that one. It's called Sony, but just, I mean, it's like some of the episodes, it's just, could we get a better themes? Just like, to me, I mean, I complained about T'Challa, Star-Lord, and the Killmonger episode because it's like, I don't see what the correlation is between Star-Lord and T'Challa, or what the correlation between Killmonger and Tony Stark is. It's just like, oh, but he was in the Middle East around the same time Tony was, you know, showing off his weapons. I felt that's a flimsy justification. That's like saying, let's do an episode about Hulk being Scarlet Witch because he and Wanda shared a croissant one morning. It's like, that's just dumb. It's dumb. So storylines not involving MCU movies, and maybe just get more varied characters and stories involved.
Yeah. Now, for me, what I'd like to see, since they said they're going to be doing things based around Phase 4 storylines, I'd love it for what if Bucky was the new Captain America, like in the comics.
I can get behind that.
Yes, I think that'd be more interesting. And of course, like I said, if they ever consider him actually canon, I'd love to see Robbie Reyes appear in a What If, just to see Ghost Rider actually involved. And of course, what if the Eternals actually fought Thanos, like in the comics?
My sort of like wish list would just be, what if Hulk got to have a proper sequel?
Yeah.
What
if Grey Hulk?
Ooh, cool. Yes.
Because just imagine this during the Infinity Wars when he was dealing with the Mind Stone on Vision, it caused a new personality to awaken inside of him. And instead of Professor Hulk, we got Grey Hulk.
Yes, I would love
because
that.
Oh yeah, just remembered something. The one I did share on your Facebook, Will, was the "What if Tony never revealed he was Iron Man?"
Yeah, that one I really liked. And if
Yeah.
they kept true, if they kept with the Iron Man's his bodyguard thing.
Yeah, like maybe it would cause him to be a bit more less egotistical, more focused. I sort of had this vision where if he did reveal it, he's less arrogant, less cocky. He wouldn't have had the palladium poisoning. The Avengers would have been more cohesive. Ultron wouldn't have existed. The Sokovia Accords never would have happened, and Thanos wouldn't have even got a chance to do the snap.
Yeah.
Right.
Two other ones is what if Iron Man found the real Mandarin, which we see in Shang-Chi.
Ooh, yeah.
And what if Hank Pym made Ultron? True to the comics.
Or hey, since they've already established in the Loki series that there exists a universe, a timeline where Thor is a frog and Loki is an alligator, I want that to be another what if. We also got the Thanos copter. I want to see a what if of Thanos if he had the Thanos copter.
I assume that was the Star-Lord. I assumed he had a helicopter. During the escape, Thanos come along in his helicopter.
I definitely want a what if. I want more what ifs done with Howard the Duck if you're not going to let him do anything in the movies.
Or give him his own series like they were supposed to.
Right.
Or they just do a really weird what if special where they just insert Deadpool into random parts of the MCU movies. It has no cohesive plot. It's just a bunch of vignettes of Deadpool pissing about in famous MCU scenes.
Yeah.
Or what if Howard the Duck, Frog, Thor, and Crocodile Loki formed a team?
For example, you insert him in the scene for the Avengers. Like Loki goes, "I have an army," and instead of Tony there, it's Deadpool. He goes, "I got a million dick jokes."
Yes. All right, then. So, any final thoughts for Marvel What If Season 1, guys?
I will say this is probably the best MCU thing in a long time for me.
Agreed.
Right.
It has its flaws, and there are things I would have changed personally, but as a first proper animated piece of the MCU, it's actually like a refreshing change from a bunch of live-action stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're clearly not going to get any video games at the time being, and it's just nice to see something different apart from the same sort of MCU formula. That
and
makes
also,
sense.
I'm happy it took a risk with a lot of darker stories that they won't do in the mainstream movies.
Yeah,
because that's the thing. That's what I miss about things like in the comics. Because they took dark turns when needed. The Marvel movies won't do that.
Agreed.
Very true.
Yeah.
All right, then. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking around with us for nearly 3 hours long on another one of our grand, epic, lengthy discussions. And as always, I had an amazing time being able to just sit down and shoot the shit with 2 very good friend of mine's. And so to wrap things up, to sort of end things before the watcher eventually narrates his way out of the to end this particular podcast, where can people find you, Random?
As usual, you can find me on my Facebook page, my DA page, which I'm trying to be a bit more active with. I'm currently working on a Halloween showcase, which was started by my late friend, The Unusual Goth, and I've continued the process in his name because, I miss my friend very much. We're currently up to day 13 at time of recording, so day 14 should be up. Mild spoiler, it involves Vampirella and Celine from the Underworld movie series. This year's theme is Super Smash Bros. Versus vampires. Don't ask. Currently still working on updating the Abyss series. I'm currently taking commissions till about Christmas when I may or may not take a break from that just so I can get some writing duties out of the way. And the Sonic Colors Ultimate review is nearly finished. I've just got to write the conclusion for it.
All right, awesome. And where can people find you, Will?
I would say they could find me on my YouTube channel, but I haven't done much on that lately, sadly. I still recommend they get subscribed to it.
You've done more on this channel all year than your YouTube channel.
Yeah, it breaks my heart thinking about that. But look, animation is hard, all right? It really is. Cut me some slack.
What? No.
What? No.
But you can also find me on my Facebook page, Crookedlore. You can also read check out my my light novels, God's Wrath Tournament of the Vines, book 1 and 2, book 3 coming soon. And also, I'm working on a thing for webtoons based on Augustine Bell called The Crooked Man Is Not So Scary Crooked Cat Girls.
Which is looking amazing, by the way.
I
Fully agreed.
I know.
All right, then. So thank you very much, you guys, for being a part of this wonderful experience. And thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Cannot thank you enough for having the patience to sit down and listen to us three, goofing off and just discussing about anything and everything involving What If, the MCU, Marvel Comics, and Marvel Comics as a whole. So, I look forward to the next time we will eventually, cover season 2 if given the chance, or whatever, sort of subject that may come up. Maybe we may talk about a particular movie whose trailer we talked about roughly around the beginning of the year. Who knows? So until then, I am Andres Perez, aka Kaiju Noir.
My line. I have been random and. Yes.
Yeah. I am the Watcher. I am your narrator in this vast multiverse of stories.
And until next time, everybody, take care.
And ponder, what if?
In the Twilight Zone.
Ponder the question. Did I remember to turn the stove off?